Chapter 111. Yang Tian suddenly thought of Little Unicorn. The sky was getting dark, but Little Unicorn was still at its original spot. It was now a level 3 beast, so it was still very afraid of level 8 beast. Yang Tian whistled loudly in the direction of Little Unicorn. After Little Unicorn heard it, it held Yang Tian's backpack in its mouth and ran in the direction of the sound. 10 minutes later, Little Unicorn met up with Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. Yang Tian patted Little Unicorn's head, took the backpack from its mouth, and carried it in his hand. Wang Kuan and the others' backpacks were placed in the forest not far from the giant earthworm. With the little blue dragon leading the way, Yang Tian quickly found the 5 backpacks. Opening one of the backpacks, Yang Tian found some salt and water, a change of clothes, a few electric bombs, and a few timed high-explosive detonators. Yang Tian did not want the clothes. Instead, he kept the unopened bottle of pure water, the 3 lightning bolts, and the 2 timed high-explosive detonators into his backpack. These powerful weapons would still be of some use at critical moments. Just like this giant earthworm. If he had these timed high-explosive detonators, it would be much easier to kill this giant earthworm. Yang Tian opened the backpacks one by one. He picked out the things he needed and put them into his own backpack. Actually, there were not many things. The 5 of them had probably been out for a long time. When they were about to return to the city, they heard the commotion and came to check. They had already used up most of their daily necessities. When Yang Tian opened the 3rd backpack, his eyes lit up. He finally found what he was looking for. 5 level 1 beast cores, 3 level 2 beast cores, 1 level 3 beast core, 2 level 4 beast cores, and 1 level 5 beast core. A total of 13 beast cores. This team has gained quite a lot. Looking at these beast cores, Yang Tian smiled happily. The total value of these cores was over 600 million martial coins. This backpack should be Wang Kuan's backpack. There were so many beast cores. He probably gathered all the beast cores obtained by the team and disposed of them after returning to the city. This was also the rule of many small teams that went out for training. The last time Yang Tian and Xiao Fei went out, it was also the same rule. After putting away the things, Yang Tian carried the bag and came to the corpse of the giant earthworm. Xiaolong, where are the beast cores? Yang Tian asked with a smile as he watched the little blue dragon jump onto Little Unicorn's back. The little blue dragon squeaked and jumped off the Little Unicorn's back. It ran to the tail of the giant earthworm and scratched it with its claws. This giant earthworm's beast core was actually on its tail. This made Yang Tian very astonished. Most beast cores were stored in their brains. Could it be that the tail of this giant earthworm was where its brain was? The tail of the giant earthworm was much thinner than the rest of its body. However, it was still about 5 meters in diameter. Yang Tian looked at it and pulled out his saber. He used 5 slashes to cut the tail of the giant earthworm. The tail of this giant earthworm was much harder than the rest of its body. It was as if it was made of cartilage. After a few slashes from Yang Tian, a caw-caw sound could be heard. After the tail of the giant earthworm was cut open, Yang Tian could not help but open his eyes wide when he saw what was inside. His heart started beating rapidly because he was extremely excited. In his eyes, there was a hard shell and a scarlet sac. The inside of the sac was filled with white liquid. On the walls of the sac, there were many multicolored beast cores embedded in the white, grease-like membrane. There were a lot of multicolored beast cores. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looking at these beast cores, Yang Tian suppressed his excitement and started counting. He only stopped when he reached 36. There were actually 36 beast cores in this strange sac. Moreover, the color of the beast cores were all different. There were actually all kinds of beast cores from level 1 to level 8. There were 8 white level 1 beast cores, 7 level 2 yellow beast cores, 6 level 3 red beast cores, 5 level 4 green beast cores, 4 level 5 light blue beast cores, 3 level 6 dark blue beast cores, 2 level 7 golden beast cores, and one level 8 purple beast core. These beast cores, from high to low, were arranged in a sequence of 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was very strange. There was only one beast core in an exotic beast's body. This was almost a rule. However, why were there 36 beast cores in this giant earthworm's body? Xiaolong, do you know why there are so many beast cores? Yang Tian could not understand and could only ask the little blue dragon. Zhizhi. The little blue dragon expressed that it did not know either. This giant earthworm was not a mutant beast, but it had also mutated. Moreover, there was more than one beast core in its body. This made Yang Tian speculate that perhaps the YS virus had not stopped mutating like the scientists had said. This was a big deal. Yang Tian immediately used his warrior assistance device to record a video. He then encrypted it and stored it in the warrior assistance device. Perhaps in the future, this video could be used as evidence. After recording the video, the light was very dim. Yang Tian used his knife to pick out the 36 beast cores from the sack and put them in his backpack. He had obtained 36 beast cores in one go. In addition to the beast cores he had obtained from Wang Kuan's backpack, this could be considered a bountiful harvest of beast cores. Even the beast cores he obtained from killing the wolf pack with Mark could not compare to what he had obtained this time. After the giant earthworm died, it emitted a stench that was even thicker than before. Yang Tian's body was covered in blood. Now that he was dead, he felt very uncomfortable. He had to find a place to take a bath. Yang Tian carried his backpack and walked out of the forest. After walking quickly for an hour, he entered a forest with a lower terrain. The sky was already dark. The weather was better that night. The sky was filled with stars, and the ground was not very dark. When Yang Tian entered the small forest, rustling sounds could be heard from the bushes. There were also the howls of various exotic beasts. Some of the exotic beasts that lived here were disturbed by Yang Tian and his two beasts. They all ran away in panic. There were no exotic beasts that were level 3 or above here. Just the aura from the little unicorn alone was enough to intimidate these exotic beasts. Pooh, a blackback wolf, scuttled out, trying to escape from Yang Tian. It was slashed by the blade that Yang Tian threw. This blackback wolf that was killed was Yang Tian, the little blue dragon, and the little unicorn's dinner. In an era where exotic beasts roamed freely, martial artists who lived in the wild would never lack food. Yang Tian used the flashlight in his hand to illuminate the forest. He found the lowest terrain in the forest and squatted down, using his fingers to pinch the wet soil on the ground. After that, Yang Tian directly used his hands to dig a hole that was about 2 meters in diameter and 1 meter deep. Before the hole was finished, water had already seeped out. After an hour of digging, the water became clear. After that, Yang Tian took off his leather armor and clothes. He used the stainless steel basin that he always carried with him to water them. He washed his hair and body clean and changed into a clean set of clothes. After that, he started to deal with the wolf carcass and make dinner. Chapter 112. The next morning, 7 o'clock. The weather was very good. Although the sun hadn't risen yet, there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. This was definitely another good day. A person's mood would always be good on a sunny day. Yang Tian looked up at the sky, then lowered his head to look at the purple rank 8 beast core in his hand. Now Yang Tian was preparing to swallow this beast core and raise his realm to a true rank 8. This way, when he used the power of the dragon orb later on, his strength would be equivalent to a rank 9. This low-lying forest didn't look conspicuous, so there shouldn't be anyone here. Moreover, he had the little blue dragon to guard him, so he didn't have to worry about being disturbed by exotic beasts or other warriors during the process of strengthening. The little unicorn beside him had already swallowed a rank 4 beast core and was in a deep sleep. When it woke up, it would be a rank 4 exotic beast. At that time, little unicorn would become an adult unicorn. Yang Tian hadn't named Little Unicorn yet because he wanted his girlfriend, Qin Fei, to give it a nice name. Little Unicorn naturally knew about this, because Yang Tian often mentioned to it that it would have a mistress in the future. Little Unicorn didn't reject this matter, because Yang Tian had told it many times that its mistress had a good temper and would like it very much. More importantly, Little Unicorn could stay away from the little blue dragon. Once the little blue dragon emitted its aura, it would always be afraid from the bottom of its heart. After putting the beast core into his mouth, Yang Tian opened a bottle of purified water and swallowed the rank 8 beast core. A few minutes later, Yang Tian felt a warm current in his stomach. Just like before, Yang Tian closed his eyes and began to use his mind to control the dragon orb in his body, starting to absorb the energy of the rank 8 beast core. When Yang Tian was fighting with Du Xiongwu, the dragon ball that was compressed into a dot by Yang Tian had already become the size of a soybean. Now Yang Tian still hoped to condense it into a small dot again. 1 day, 2 days, time flew by and 5 days passed in a flash. During this process, Yang Tian leaned against a big tree as if he had fallen asleep. His body was covered in leaves. During this process, the little blue dragon stayed by Yang Tian's side. It didn't eat or drink and remained vigilant. 5 days passed. Suddenly, Yang Tian opened his eyes and woke up. However, Yang Tian did not look happy at all. Instead, he frowned. This was because the dragon orb in his body did not change much after absorbing the energy of the rank 8 beast core. This was not because the energy of the beast core was not enough. Yang Tian could feel that the energy released by the rank 8 beast core this time was more than 10 times that of the previous rank 7 beast core. If it wasn't because of the beast core, then it was because there was not enough energy. Yang Tian thought for a moment, then immediately took out 2 more rank 7 beast cores and swallowed them twice. A few minutes later, the energy of the 2 rank 7 beast cores began to be absorbed by Yang Tian's digestive system. After releasing the energy, Yang Tian closed his eyes. 3 days later, Yang Tian opened his eyes abruptly. His eyebrows furrowed again because the energy was still not enough. After swallowing the energy of the 2 rank 7 beast cores, the dragon orb in Yang Tian's body finally changed. It started to turn light purple. From the looks of it, he seemed to have completed his advancement. However, Yang Tian felt that he had not successfully advanced to the realm of a level 8 warrior. What should he do now? Yang Tian was a little vexed. If he had known earlier, he would have killed a few more rank 8 exotic beasts and accumulated enough beast cores before attempting to advance. Cheep cheep cheep. The little blue dragon noticed Yang Tian's abnormality. It jumped down from a nearby tree and asked Yang Tian, "Xiao Long, I feel that I have not succeeded. I still need more energy. The dragon orb in my body is only light purple now." Yang Tian frowned and explained his situation to the little blue dragon. Cheep cheep. What surprised Yang Tian was that the little blue dragon told him that he had already advanced to the next realm. Although he believed in the little blue dragon, Yang Tian felt that he had not completed it. It was a very uncomfortable feeling. It was as if he was about to complete something, but he had only completed half of it. Just as he was about to complete it, he suddenly stopped. Yang Tian gritted his teeth and opened the backpack in front of him. He looked at the dozens of beast cores inside and swallowed the 3 rank 6 beast cores one by one. The rank 8 and rank 7 beast cores did not have enough energy. He could only use the energy of these low-level beast cores to make up for it. After swallowing the 3 rank 6 beast cores, Yang Tian did not stop. Next, he swallowed the remaining 4 rank 5 beast cores and 5 rank 4 beast cores. Yang Tian felt that he should have enough energy after swallowing so many beast cores. Yang Tian closed his eyes again. In the state of inner vision, the light purple dragon orb in the dragon orb's dimension once again absorbed energy. Boom! 2 days later, when Yang Tian controlled the dragon orb and finished absorbing the energy of the beast cores, the entire dimension of the dragon orb let out a roar and trembled violently. This tremor made Yang Tian feel dizzy, as if his soul was about to be shaken out of his body. But very quickly, the dimension of the dragon orb calmed down. At this time, the light purple dragon orb began to swell as if it was being blown up at a very fast speed. Almost in the blink of an eye, it went from the size of a soybean to the size of a soccer ball. The color of the enlarged dragon orb began to change. The purple light that it emitted became weaker and weaker and was about to disappear. Yang Tian was shocked and immediately used his mind to control the dragon orb to make it smaller. When the dragon orb was controlled by Yang Tian's mind, it obediently began to shrink. It was another long time. 7 days passed by quickly. At this time, a total of 16 days had passed since Yang Tian started swallowing the rank 8 beast cores. In the following 7 days, Yang Tian's mind had been fighting with the dragon orb, just like before. The little unicorn had completed its evolution, from a level 3 beast to a level 4 beast. In the past half a month, its body had grown rapidly, and was about the size of an adult unicorn. It was just that because it had just evolved, its eyes still retained a trace of childishness, unlike other level 4 beasts, whose eyes were so sharp. At level 4, the unicorn could carry Yang Tian and fly freely in the air. Exotic beasts all had mysterious inherited memories. After advancing to level 4, a part of the memories in their minds had awakened, and they were more proficient in controlling flight. They wouldn't fall head first after flying in the air and injuring themselves like before. Who? When the little unicorn flew a circle in the air curiously and landed on the ground with a gust of wind, Yang Tian finally woke up. He opened his eyes with a satisfied look on his face. At this time, the dragon orb in his body had condensed into a small dot again, emitting a bright purple light. Standing up from the ground, Yang Tian moved his body and felt that there was an inexhaustible amount of strength in his body. He knew that his body was now at the peak of level 8, and with the dragon orb's energy, his strength was equivalent to a peak level 9 martial artist. Chapter 113. While Yang Tian was devouring beast cores to increase his level, Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing had already arrived at Hero City. Their daughter, Du Mei, had already gone out with Du Xiongwen to train. Du Xiongwen and Zhu Shaoqing had failed at educating their children. All 3 of their sons were good-for-nothings. If Du Xiongwu had not been a level 8 warrior, Du Qing and Dui would not have been able to become level 4 warriors. As for Du Mei, although she was a girl, she was much better than Du Qing, Dui and Du Feng. At least she was worth nurturing. Du Xiongwen would not let Du Mei be ruined by his brother and sister-in-law. In a luxurious villa in Hero City, Du Xiongwu was sitting in the living room. There was a Chinese chess set on the coffee table in front of him and an old chess manual beside him. Zhu Shaoqing walked in quickly, her high heels clicking on the floor. Du Xiongwu, who was studying the chess manual, looked up. Unlike when she was in the forest, Zhu Shaoqing was radiant again. Ever since she had arrived at Hero City, Zhu Shaoqing had been going out every day. She had been shuttling between the rich and noble ladies to inquire about the level 9 warrior, Frenzy. Frenzy was a level 9 warrior with a very strange temper. He was rarely seen in Hero City, but most of the time, he would appear at the gatherings of the rich and powerful. He would show up as a very young man and take away beautiful women. It was for this reason that Zhu Shaoqing deliberately dressed herself up every day to make herself look younger and prettier. Zhu Shaoqing had also devoured a level 1 beast core and her body had been strengthened. Compared to ordinary ladies, she looked younger by a few years. After putting on makeup, she looked like she was only 27 or 28 years old. No one would be able to tell that she was already a mother of 3 grown children. Xiongwu, I finally know where Frenzy is. Zhu Shaoqing said excitedly when she saw her husband looking at her. Du Xiongwu was not happy to hear this news. Instead, he frowned. This was because his younger brother, Du Xiongwu, had warned him not to interact with Frenzy. He was a level 9 warrior who was not easy to deal with. Du Xiongwu also knew that Frenzy liked beautiful women. He was worried that something might happen to Zhu Shaoqing when she went out every day. Now that Zhu Shaoqing had brought back news about Frenzy, how could he be happy? Seeing the expression on her husband's face, Zhu Shaoqing was immediately unhappy. She gritted her teeth and shouted, Du Xiongwu, are you still a man? Don't you want to avenge your 3 sons? Avenge. Du Xiongwu lowered his head and muttered these 2 words. Then, he shook his head. To be honest, whenever he thought of Yang Tian, he felt powerless, like a rooster who had been defeated in a fight. He used to be a level 8 warrior, but now he had been demoted to level 6. Not only did he lose his status, but he was also cut off from the pinnacle of the warrior realm. This was a huge blow to him. Seeing that her husband was not speaking, Zhu Shaoqing stomped her feet. I'm going to find Frenzy now. No matter the price, I want him to kill Yang Tian for us. Otherwise, I won't be happy for the rest of my life. Are you coming with me? If not, I'll go alone. After Zhu Shaoqing finished speaking, she turned around and walked out without hesitation. Wait a minute. At this time, Du Xiongwu finally raised his head and said indifferently. Zhu Shaoqing was delighted. She knew that her husband had finally changed his mind. To be honest, she was a little worried that she would go to Frenzy's place alone. If the Frenzy wanted to do something to her, she would not have any chance to resist. It was different if her husband went with her. Although it was useless to the Frenzy, at least she would be braver. In Zhu Xiaoqing's mind, as long as she could afford it, the Frenzy would definitely agree. During the decades in Hero City, Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing had used their power and status to accumulate a huge amount of wealth. They could even fork out hundreds of billions of martial coins in one go. Before Zhu Shaoqing could turn around, Du Xiongwu said, Xiongwen told me not to look for that person. He will make us pay an unimaginable price. If we want to go, we have to wait for him to come back. When Zhu Shaoqing heard this, she snorted coldly and turned around abruptly. Wait for Xiongwen to come back? Zhu Shaoqing sneered. He knew that we would go to the Frenzy, so he deliberately took Xiaomei away from Hero City. Who knows when he will come back? After Zhu Shaoqing finished speaking, she turned around and walked out of the door resolutely. Sigh. Du Xiongwu sighed. He stood up, picked up the saber beside him, and followed her out. After leaving the villa, Zhu Shaoqing got into the car. Just as she was about to ask the professional driver to start the car, she saw her husband come out, open the back door, and sit beside her. Zhu Shaoqing knew that her husband was upset. She held his arm and said, Xiongwen, don't worry. After we get our revenge, I will always be with you. I won't go anywhere and we will live happily for the rest of our lives. Du Xiongwu nodded helplessly. When she saw her husband nodding, Zhu Shaoqing turned around and said to the driver in fluent English, Start the car. We are going to Black Manor. When the driver heard that they were going to Black Manor, he was so frightened that his body trembled. Black Manor was a terrifying place for ordinary people in Hero City. There were many horror stories that spread from that place. Legend had it that there was an eccentric old man who liked to conduct human experiments. The driver did not start the car. He was speechless for a moment. Zhu Shaoqing frowned and said to the driver, You just have to drive until we are close to the manor. If you don't listen to me, I will kill you right now. When he heard that they were only close to Black Manor, the driver was relieved. He had no choice but to start the car. Hero City was huge. It was at least twice the size of Tianxiong City. Compared to Tianxiong City, this was a place where martial artists had more freedom. It was not like Tianxiong City where there were so many rules. The car sped through the city. From time to time, they could see martial artists fighting on the side of the road. There were many onlookers standing around. Westerners were different from Easterners. After becoming a martial artist, their bodies were generally very strong. Their muscles were bulging, and they gave off a strong feeling. Zhu Shaoqing looked at the situation outside. She was already thinking about what would happen when she met the rank 9 martial artist, Frenzy. Du Xiongwu was the same. He was different from Zhu Shaoqing. Zhu Shaoqing was very optimistic, but he was very worried. It was because of this that he felt his heart pounding. It was as if something big was about to happen. After driving for about half an hour, the car turned into a small road. The small road could only accommodate one car. There were tall weeds on both sides. The car could not be seen from the outside. In order not to hit anyone, the driver kept honking to avoid hitting anyone. Du Xiongwu was even more annoyed when he heard the car honking non-stop. When he finally could not take it anymore and was about to ask the driver to stop, the car stopped. The driver turned his head and said to Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing, "Black Manor is in front. I can only drive here. Even if you want to kill me, I will not go." Chapter 114. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing got out of the car and parted the tall grass. What appeared in front of them was a brand new ancient castle. Surrounding the ancient castle was a man-made lake, and a road led directly to the castle in the middle of the lake. Surrounding the lake was a circle of neatly trimmed flower beds. It was the beginning of April, and the temperature had warmed up. The flowers in the flower beds were in full bloom, and the air was filled with the fragrance of flowers. This was the Black Manor. The scenery of this strange manor was very beautiful. It wasn't as creepy as other people described it. Seeing this scene, Zhu Shaoqing laughed, and Du Xiongwu was also slightly relieved. But at this time, the driver suddenly started the car. The car quickly backed up and made a sharp turn, spewing out black smoke from the exhaust pipe. The wheels rubbed against the road, making a screeching sound. The car disappeared into the dense grass like an arrow leaving the bow. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing didn't care that the driver had driven away. The two of them looked at each other and walked forward. The exterior of this manor gave people a feeling of sunshine, but it was so quiet that it made people feel lonely from the bottom of their hearts. This was a contradiction. The two of them walked along the path beside the flower beds. After walking for more than 10 minutes, they reached the road in the middle of the lake, and walked towards the smooth and clean ancient castle in the middle of the lake. As they walked, a white-haired old man came over with a large pair of pruning scissors. Seeing that someone was coming, the two of them felt more relaxed. The old man only glanced at Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing, then bent down, picked up the scissors, and started pruning the messy flowers in the flower beds on both sides of the road. When Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing passed by the old man, Zhu Shaoqing looked at the old man with disgust. Because the old man was dressed very shabbily, his hair was very messy, and his body emitted a faint stench. Go back, Zhu Shaoqing and Du Xiongwu naturally disdained to greet such a person. They just walked past the old man. However, they had only taken a few steps when they heard the old man's murmur behind them. This sound was extremely soft, like the buzz of a mosquito. If it wasn't for the silence around them, they wouldn't have heard it at all. They might even have thought that they were hallucinating. The two of them stopped and turned around to look at the old man. The old man's mouth was closed, and the scissors in his hand were making kacha-kacha sounds. Go back? Of course, it was impossible. Zhu Shaoqing had already made up her mind. She must see the level 9 warrior Frenzy. The two of them glanced at the old man and continued to move forward. They even quickened their pace. Sigh, at this moment, the two of them heard a faint sigh behind them. The gate of the ancient castle was open. The two of them stepped onto the clean steps and walked through the gate without hesitation. After entering the gate, they found themselves in a very large space. It was extremely clean and tidy. Other than a huge crystal chandelier, there were no other attractive decorations. The place was extremely empty. It was enough to hold a large party here. Right in front of them was a spiral staircase that led to the second floor. As soon as the two of them entered the gate, a blond man in a black suit appeared on the spiral staircase and smiled at the two of them. This young man was extremely handsome. His smile was very charming, and he gave off an amiable feeling. Zhu Shaoqing and the young man looked at each other and lowered their heads shyly. This young man's gaze was invasive to women. "Welcome to the Black Manor, both of you." The young blond man looked at the two of them, still maintaining the smile on his face, and said lightly, We are here to see Mr. Frenzy." Zhu Shaoqing looked at the young man and spoke in fluent English. The young blond man smiled and said, "I am Frenzy. Why are you looking for me?" When the young blond man said that he was Frenzy, Zhu Shaoqing and Du Xiongwu were shocked. Although they had heard that a level 9 martial artist could maintain a youthful appearance, they did not expect him to be so young. Speaking of which, Frenzy was a first-generation martial artist. Before the YS virus outbreak, he was an adult man. His real age was more than 100 years old. We would like to ask Mr. Frenzy to help us kill someone. We are willing to pay some money. Zhu Shaoqing calmed herself down and told him the purpose of her visit. Money? No. Frenzy shook his head and said, "The money I have is enough to buy half of Hero City. Money is more than enough for me to spend in a few lifetimes. I don't need money." "Then what do you want?" Du Xiongwu saw Frenzy staring at his wife, and he wasn't happy about it. His tone was a little stiff. Frenzy ignored Du Xiongwu and looked at Zhu Shaoqing with a smile. "You have what I want, and I like it very much. As long as you are willing to give it to me, I will agree to your request. In this world, there is no one that I, Frenzy, cannot kill." Frenzy smirked after he said that. Zhu Shaoqing saw a man's desire for a woman in Frenzy's eyes. She felt uneasy. Du Xiongwu frowned. He immediately took Zhu Xiaoqing's hand and said to Frenzy, "Since you don't like money, we have nothing to give you. Goodbye." After that, Du Xiongwu pulled Zhu Shaoqing out. Frenzy did not stop the two of them from leaving. Whoosh! When Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing reached the door, there was a sudden gust of wind. A black shadow suddenly covered the top of their heads. Pft! Then, there was the sound of something heavy falling to the ground. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing only saw the black shadow clearly when it landed. It was actually a huge exotic beast. It was a giant bat. When it retracted its wings, its body was even bigger than an elephant. Its body was covered in shiny scales. Hiss! When the giant bat landed, it opened its mouth and let out a sharp cry at the two of them. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing covered their ears in pain when they heard the sound. They felt the world spinning around them. This was a powerful sonic attack. Zhu Shaoqing was the first to take it. She suddenly fainted on the ground. Du Xiongwu saw his wife fainting. He turned his head and looked inside the door. He saw Frenzy looking at him with a smirk. He gritted his teeth and let go of his hands that were covering his ears. He picked up his sword from the ground and jumped up, slashing at the giant bat. Hiss! At this moment, the giant bat let out an even sharper cry. Du Xiongwu was in the air. It was as if his body had crashed into a soft wall. His body bounced back. Due to the powerful sound wave attack, his head was dizzy and he was in a daze. Whoosh! At this moment, the giant bat flapped its wings and pounced at Du Xiongwu, who had fallen to the ground. Du Xiongwu instinctively raised his sword and slashed. Pft! This slash was weak and powerless against the giant bat. It did not even hurt the giant bat's fur. The giant bat used one of its hind claws to grab Du Xiongwu and quickly flew into the sky. In the blink of an eye, they were more than 100 meters in the air. Du Xiongwu finally woke up from the cold wind in the air. Chapter 115. 2 chapters combined into one. Don't say that I didn't update enough words. When Du Xiongwu completely woke up, he found himself in the air. His body was firmly grasped by one of the giant bat's claws. Du Xiongwu was horrified. In a panic, he struggled with all his might. However, the giant bat's claws were like iron pincers. They did not move an inch. At this time, the giant bat had already brought Du Xiongwu more than 100 meters up in the air. Suddenly, the giant bat let go of its claws. Ah! Du Xiongwu let out a shrill scream as he fell from a height of more than 100 meters. At a height of more than 100 meters, even a level 6 warrior would die if he fell to the ground. Bang! Du Xiongwu's body fell in front of the gate of the ancient castle. Blood splattered everywhere. A martial artist's life force was extremely strong, and Du Xiongwu did not immediately die. His eyes were wide open, and he struggled to get up, but his entire body was numb. He did not listen to his commands, and he could not even open his mouth. At this time, Du Xiongwu was on the verge of death. Suddenly, Frenzy's smiling face appeared in his eyes. Ha ha! Du Xiongwu let out 2 long breaths filled with unwillingness and regret. Then, he blacked out and lost consciousness. Huff! The giant bat descended from the sky and landed beside Du Xiongwu's body. It opened its mouth and held Du Xiongwu's body in its mouth. It tilted its head back and swallowed it in a few mouthfuls. Frenzy walked in front of the giant bat. The giant bat crouched down and looked very obedient. After swallowing a level 6 warrior, you should be able to advance to level 8, right? Frenzy said with a smile as he patted the giant bat's head. From the beginning to the end, Frenzy had a smile on his face. See, as in the small forest, Yang Tian waved the saber in his hand. The saber turned into white lines that interweaved into a net of light. As for his body, it was as if he was teleporting, flashing from east to west, flashing through the forest. Having been strengthened to the pinnacle of rank 8, coupled with the power of the Dragon Ball in his body, Yang Tian's current strength was equivalent to the pinnacle of rank 9. At this moment, he was familiarizing himself with his strength in preparation for the upcoming battle. Although this world's martial prowess was subverted, he knew from Qin Lao that there were even stronger exotic beasts. If beasts were like this, then martial artists should also have a higher realm. Who knows, he might even encounter a level 10 martial artist later on. Things in this world were unpredictable. In the process of practicing the saber technique, Yang Tian especially enjoyed the wonderful feeling of breaking through air resistance. After more than 10 minutes, Yang Tian stopped. The power of the Dragon Ball in Yang Tian's body had also changed. Its quality had increased by a lot. Now, not only his hands, but even his legs could turn into a pair of dragon claws. The quality of the scales covering his entire body had also increased by a lot, making his resistance to attack stronger. If it wasn't inconvenient, Yang Tian really wanted to try transforming his hands and legs into dragon claws at once to see what he would look like. Regarding this, Yang Tian had long since lost his resistance because this transformation method could be changed back at any time. He wasn't a complete monster. What made Yang Tian a little disappointed was that when he used the power of the Dragon Ball and his strength increased to the pinnacle of rank 9 martial artist, he didn't hear the mysterious summoning that Qin Lao had mentioned. Yang Tian estimated that this would have to wait until he swallowed the rank 9 beast core and became a true rank 9 martial artist. With this experience, Yang Tian was prepared to prepare 2 rank 9 beast cores for himself when he raised his realm again. There were very few rank 9 exotic beasts on land, so he estimated that he would have to go to the ocean. Yang Tian pinched his chin and thought for a while. He smiled and turned to the little blue dragon. Xiaolong, let's go to Hero City. They had been delayed in Black Rock City for a month, so they had to speed up. Fortunately, there was an endless grassland in front of them, so their speed was much faster. Frenzy squatted down with a smile and carried Zhu Shaoqing horizontally. He turned around and walked towards the stairs. Zhu Shaoqing's body was soft and could be described as soft and boneless. This made Frenzy very satisfied. Frenzy carried Zhu Shaoqing to a hall on the second floor. The hall was decorated with gold, diamonds, and jewels. The floor was also covered with white and expensive exotic beast fur. It felt soft when one stepped on it. In the hall, several women in silk robes were holding wine glasses. They were either lying on the carpet or lying on the sofa. These women all had one thing in common, which was that they were very beautiful. They all had a languid look on their faces. Frenzy placed Zhu Shaoqing on a soft bed in the middle of the hall. He then turned around and took a glass of red wine from a woman's hand. He sat on the carpet and savored it carefully. The woman holding the wine glass smiled ingratiatingly and began to massage Frenzy's shoulders. Frenzy closed his eyes and leaned on the woman's body with a look of enjoyment. At this moment, a side door in the hall opened. 4 middle-aged women with ordinary looks came in. They came to the bed and stripped Zhu Shaoqing in a few moves. They also took off the jewelry on Zhu Shaoqing's body and threw them into the trash can along with her clothes. The 4 maids were very skilled. After they stripped Zhu Shaoqing, they carried Zhu Shaoqing into the luxurious bathroom on the other side of the hall. They took out all kinds of strange tools and carefully cleaned Zhu Shaoqing's body. An hour later, Zhu Shaoqing was carried out. At this moment, she was wearing a red silk nightgown. After putting Zhu Shaoqing on the bed, the 4 maids silently bowed to Frenzy and left one after another. Frenzy glanced at Zhu Shaoqing on the bed. He didn't get up and walk over. Instead, he turned his head to the window and looked at the situation outside. 10 minutes later, Zhu Shaoqing finally opened her eyes and woke up. Zhu Shaoqing, who was confused for a while, realized that something was wrong. She couldn't help but scream in horror. This was almost the instinct of all women. After this scream, Zhu Shaoqing saw Frenzy and gradually calmed down. After getting off the bed, Zhu Shaoqing walked unnaturally to Frenzy and asked nervously, Where is my husband?" Frenzy raised his head and glanced at Zhu Shaoqing. Then, he turned his head and said lightly, "He left you alone. I will also leave." When Zhu Shaoqing heard Frenzy say that her husband had left, she became even more flustered. She tightened the silk nightgown on her body and quickly said goodbye. Then, she turned around and walked to the door. Although Zhu Shaoqing was experienced and knowledgeable, it was the first time she encountered such a situation. She knew that she was wearing a red silk nightgown and nothing inside. But the strange thing was that her body had never felt comfortable. The door was closed. Zhu Shaoqing pulled the door handle, but she couldn't open the door no matter how hard she tried. "Open the door! Open the door! Open the door!" Zhu Shaoqing was an enhancer, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't open the door. She became more and more flustered. She began to shake the door handle and shouted. The 8 women in the hall looked at Zhu Shaoqing as if they were watching a good show. They could already guess what was going to happen next. These things had also happened to them. But in the end they could only give in. The door and the door lock are all made of white elemental alloy. You can't open it. When Zhu Shaoqing was about to collapse, Frenzy's voice came from behind her. Zhu Shaoqing turned her head and looked at Frenzy with tears on her face. At this time, she had a lovely charm. Frenzy looked at Zhu Shaoqing and smiled. "Didn't you want to kill someone? You can tell me now." Zhu Shaoqing was stunned. When Frenzy said this, Zhu Shaoqing's hatred for Yang Tian rose. She forgot her fear for a moment. Yang Tian, Yang Tian. Zhu Shaoqing tightened her collar and gritted her teeth as she muttered Yang Tian's name. She slowly walked in front of Frenzy and looked at Frenzy with pleading eyes. "That person is called Yang Tian. He is now a level 8 warrior. A month ago I saw him in Black Rock City. He should have come to Hero City. He killed 3 of my sons." Zhu Shaoqing gritted her teeth and finished speaking. Frenzy nodded. "Yang Tian, I know. He is the youth who defeated your husband. At such a young age, he used less than a year to become a level 8 warrior. He is really amazing. Hearing Frenzy praise Yang Tian, Zhu Shaoqing was afraid that Frenzy would go back on his word. She quickly said, "You have already promised me." Frenzy nodded, "Yes, but you have to pay a price." Zhu Shaoqing had already realized what the so-called price was. Who asked her to be born so beautiful? She glanced at Frenzy and turned her head away. She hesitated. For Zhu Shaoqing, this was a very difficult choice. Actually, it was not a choice. Now she was forced to do it. "I am willing to do anything as long as you kill Yang Tian." After thinking for a few minutes, Zhu Shaoqing finally turned around and gritted her teeth. Frenzy looked at Zhu Xiaoqing's determined face and smiled. "Actually, your husband, Du Xiongwu, has already been fed to the black bat by me. Now, he is in the black bat's stomach. I am afraid that he has already become a pile of bones." Zhu Shaoqing looked at Frenzy with wide eyes. For Zhu Shaoqing, this was another heavy blow. Frenzy laughed. "You don't have a choice. Just be a good girl and be my maid. I can help you kill Yang Tian." After Frenzy finished speaking, he handed the wine glass to a beautiful woman beside him and kissed her on the lips. Then, he stood up and walked to the bathroom. As he walked, he said, "Think about it. Come and help me take a bath. I think you are a smart woman. You know what to do." At this time, Zhu Shaoqing acted as if she did not hear Frenzy's words. Her eyes were full of confusion. She did not understand why things would develop like this. If she had known earlier. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. She had no choice now. She knew that she could not leave here. After a while, the sound of water came from the bathroom. Zhu Shaoqing finally thought it through. She stood up and walked to the bathroom the next morning. The rising sun shone into the room through the window. Zhu Shaoqing opened her eyes. Frenzy was no longer in bed. Thinking of what happened last night, Zhu Xiaoqing's face blushed. Last night, she still had some resistance to Frenzy in her heart. But now, when she thought of what happened last night, she could not help but recall it. She did not know what kind of drug Frenzy injected into her last night. It made her feel happy that she had never felt before. At this time, a woman lying under the bed with only a thin gauze dress on her body got up and yawned lazily. After the woman woke up, she walked to the front of the bed and pressed a switch on it. Soon after, more than 10 maids came in and brought clean clothes for Zhu Shaoqing and the others. The 8 beautiful women from the west were all wearing dresses of various colors. Their waists were extremely slender. The dress prepared for Zhu Shaoqing was a red silk cheongsam with a high slit. After putting on the clothes, Zhu Shaoqing pulled one of the beautiful women and asked, "What kind of drug did Master inject into us last night?" "YZT," the woman replied, "it's a drug developed by Master. It can make a woman's skin more delicate. It can also make us more sensitive and thirsty. But the side effect is that after 5 years, we will be old women. While there are still a few years left, let's enjoy it." Zhu Xiaoqing's face was expressionless. As long as Frenzy helped her kill Yang Tian, she would accept it even if she could only live for 5 days. After dressing up, the 9 beautiful women went out of the hall and went to the 3rd floor to enter a restaurant. "Good morning, Master." The original 8 women looked at Frenzy, who was sitting in front of the table, and knelt down to salute her. Only Zhu Shaoqing stood there in a daze. "Sit down and eat." Frenzy looked up at the women and said with a smile. The food on the table was sumptuous and delicious. In addition to the meat of exotic beasts, there were also all kinds of fresh fruit. Even ordinary rich people wouldn't be able to eat these things often. Zhu Shaoqing sat next to Frenzy. While eating, she glanced at Frenzy from time to time. She wasn't in the mood to eat at all. After seeing Frenzy finish his meal and wipe his mouth, Zhu Shaoqing said, Master, when are you?" Before Zhu Shaoqing could finish, Frenzy said, "Don't worry, I will definitely do what I promised you. I'm already preparing and will leave in the afternoon. When the time comes, I will bring back Yang Tian's head so that you can rest assured." After Frenzy finished speaking, he patted Zhu Xiaoqing's face, which was even younger than yesterday, stood up and walked out. Frenzy didn't go back on his words. After lunch, he set off. He carried a great sword on his back and a huge backpack. He jumped onto the back of the giant bat. The giant bat carried him into the sky and soon disappeared from Zhu Xiaoqing's sight. Wolf howls could be heard on the grassland. A large number of wolves surrounded Yang Tian. Yang Tian had just entered the grassland and was only 200 kilometers deep when he was discovered by the wolves. At this moment, he was focused on roasting a piece of snake meat. Yang Tian acted as if he didn't hear the wolf howls. The same went for the unicorn and the little blue dragon. The two gluttonous fellows were drooling as they stared at the roasted meat on the fire. There was no firewood on the grassland. Yang Tian used very thick withered grass as a substitute. As he roasted the meat, he added the withered grass to the fire. It was the smoke from the withered grass that attracted the wolves. With the unicorn around, Yang Tian didn't have to worry about the wolves. If he found it troublesome, he could let the unicorn carry him into the sky and quickly leave this grassland. However, Yang Tian didn't plan to do that. He wanted to keep his promise with Qin Lao and walk to Hero City. Chapter 116. The most savage creatures on the grassland were undoubtedly the wolf. The number of wolves surrounding Yang Tian increased as time passed. The wolves stopped about 30 meters away from Yang Tian. They bared their teeth and stared coldly at Yang Tian. Without receiving the order to attack from the wolf pack leader, the wolves only surrounded Yang Tian and didn't make a move for the time being. Compared to the wolves in the forest, the mutated wolves on the grassland were much thinner and weaker. That was because they didn't have enough food. Therefore, once they found prey, even if it was an exotic beast of a higher level than them, they would attack. They would use the wolf-sea tactic to tear the enemy apart and eat them. Compared to the wolves in the forest, the wolves on the grassland were even more ferocious. The meat was cooked. Yang Tian divided the meat into 3 portions and the man and 2 beasts started to eat. Yang Tian ate very quickly. He wolfed down the food because he knew that a great battle was about to begin. There were at least 3,000 wolves surrounding him. Most of these 3,000 wolves were low-level blackback wolves, with a small number of silver-toothed wolves and red-toothed wolves mixed in gudong. After eating the meat, Yang Tian drank a bottle of pure water in one go. Then, he wiped his mouth and stood up with his knife. Suddenly, a wolf howl rang out. This was the attack order from the wolf pack leader. As soon as this sound rang out, the wolves immediately moved and rushed towards Yang Tian. At this moment, the little blue dragon jumped onto the back of the unicorn. The unicorn flapped its wings and flew into the sky, circling in the air dozens of meters above the ground. Rumble, the mutated wolves were huge. When they ran, they were like a herd of horses. Their momentum was shocking, and the ground trembled from their steps. The distance of 30 meters was covered in the blink of an eye. Puff, 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 puff. Yang Tian waved the saber in his hand, turning into a white line. His body was also flashing at a rapid speed. Almost every slash was able to split open the body of a mutated wolf. As for the pack of wolves, they couldn't even touch the corner of Yang Tian's clothes. In Yang Tian's eyes, the movement of the pack of wolves pouncing on him was like slow motion, so he could easily dodge them. Roar! At this moment, the leader of the wolf pack howled again. Yang Tian immediately rushed in the direction of the sound. At this moment, the little unicorn in the sky also flew towards the leader of the pack of wolves, pointing the way for Yang Tian. Puff, puff, puff. Yang Tian, who was surrounded by the pack of wolves, advanced at an extremely fast speed. The wolves in front of him were all cleaved apart by his saber. Roar! Seeing Yang Tian coming towards it, the wolf pack leader let out another howl. More than 10 level 3 red-fanged wolves rushed forward, blocking in front of Yang Tian. Yang Tian's strength was already at the peak of a level 9 warrior. To him, a level 3 red-fanged wolf was no different from an ordinary blackback wolf. More than 10 red-fanged wolves were quickly killed by Yang Tian. Compared to the wolves in the forest, these wolves were more ferocious. They didn't fear death. Even if more than 10 red-fanged wolves were killed, the wolf pack didn't panic at all. They continued to attack Yang Tian. The leader of the wolf pack was very cunning. At this moment, it began to move around the pack of wolves at an extremely fast speed. It controlled the pack of wolves to surround Yang Tian. The distance between it and Yang Tian didn't seem to shorten at all. After Yang Tian realized this problem, he sneered. Since he couldn't kill the leader of the wolf pack in a short period of time, then he would kill it. He would kill until the wolf pack was afraid. Almost every second, a wolf was killed by Yang Tian. At this speed, he would be able to kill the pack of wolves in less than an hour, more than half an hour later. Looking down from the sky, with Yang Tian as the center, the area within 100 meters of him was covered with wolf corpses. The wolf pack that attacked Yang Tian had already dispersed. At Yang Tian's feet, there was a huge wolf corpse. This was a level 6 green-furred wolf. This green-furred wolf had a deep wound on its neck. Below its body was a pool of dark red blood that hadn't yet soaked to the ground. The air was filled with a fishy smell. After killing more than 1,000 wolves, the wolf pack was reduced by half and showed signs of collapse. As the leader of the wolf pack, this green-furred wolf turned and fled when it saw that something was wrong. Once the leader of the wolf pack fled, the wolf pack was no longer under control and scattered. Yang Tian took the opportunity to rush over and kill this green-furred wolf. After cutting open the green-furred wolf's head with his sword, Yang Tian used his sword to pick out a level 6 dark blue beast core. Next, under the guidance of the little blue dragon, Yang Tian broke open the heads of some wolf corpses and found 15 level 1 beast cores, 6 level 2 beast cores, 7 level 3 beast cores, 2 level 4 beast cores, and 1 level 5 beast core. In total, there were 32 beast cores. In less than an hour, he had such a bountiful harvest. Yang Tian was very satisfied. After his strength increased to level 9, it was indeed different. After killing more than 1,000 wolves, Yang Tian still felt that he hadn't recovered yet. It was as if he had just done a warm-up exercise. After easily obtaining so many beast cores, Yang Tian had a deeper understanding that after becoming a level 8 or 9 advanced martialist, the source of money was no longer a problem. The martial coins in his bank account were really just a string of numbers. Yang Tian finally understood why so many level 9 martialists had been mysteriously summoned and disappeared from this world. It was because, to them, if they didn't pursue higher realms and more mysterious things, their future days would be very boring. After putting more than 30 beast cores into his backpack, Yang Tian continued on with the little blue dragon and the unicorn. 10 days later. At this time, Yang Tian had already reached the borders of Russia and was about 100 kilometers away from Ulan City. Looking at the towering Ulan City in the distance, Yang Tian didn't intend to enter. Instead, he headed west. In fact, there was a shorter route from Tianxiong City to Hero City. However, this was the route marked on the map that Qin Lao had given him. According to the map, after passing Wulan City, about 200 kilometers to the west, there was a level 8 exotic beast. Of course, Yang Tian wouldn't let go of a high-level exotic beast. The value of a level 8 beast core was more than the value of the dozens of beast cores he had obtained during this period. There were more martialists near Ulan City. This was a good time to come out and gain experience. In a few months, this place would be covered in ice and snow. Along the way, Yang Tian encountered many martialists. Most of them were burly men. When they saw Yang Tian, most of them avoided him. This was because many martialists knew Yang Tian. Yang Tian had long been famous all over the world. His deeds were circulating on the internet. Of course, there were also photos of him. The battle between Yang Tian and Du Xiongwu had been recorded by many people and posted on the internet. This also saved Yang Tian a lot of trouble. No one dared to find trouble with him, and he didn't want to kill anyone. The news of Yang Tian's appearance in Ulan City was quickly spread by some martialists. After passing through the security zone of Ulan City and traveling dozens of kilometers, Yang Tian was sitting on a small hill, making lunch and basking in the warm sunlight. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. Whoosh! When Yang Tian raised his head, he saw a large bat flapping its wings and landing on the ground. A young man jumped down from the bat. The frenzy had finally found Yang Tian. Chapter 117. Thank you, Li Junyang and the other readers for your tips. In the Atlantic Ocean, in a trench more than 3,000 meters deep, the Braveheart capsule that had returned from Mars had sunk here. Nearly 100 years had passed, and the capsule had long been covered by the sea water. Its original appearance could not be seen. Some large mutated sea creatures were cruising nearby. Not far from the capsule, a formation plate about 5 meters in diameter with strange runes engraved on it emitted a faint blue light. It was constantly and slowly rotating. This was the mysterious door that Qin Lao had mentioned. The summoning of a level 9 warrior also came from it. Nearly 100 years had passed, but this formation plate was still very clean. There was not even a trace of dust on the formation plate. At this moment, a huge red octopus was lying on its stomach not far from the formation plate. It shook its thick tentacles from time to time, sucking in mutated fish that were larger than cows that passed by and sweeping them into its mouth. Suddenly, the blue light of the formation plate brightened a little, and the speed of its rotation increased by several times. A few seconds later, a person wearing black armor and carrying a bone spike appeared in the formation plate. As his entire head was covered by a helmet and a mask, his appearance could not be seen clearly. In the dim light, his bright red hair was very conspicuous, like blood. As soon as the red-haired man in black armor appeared, he walked out of the formation plate. In the water pressure of more than 3,000 meters, he walked as if he was taking a stroll. The seawater did not seem to have the slightest resistance to him. The huge red octopus discovered the red-haired man in black armor and used a thick tentacle to wrap around him. However, before the tentacle could touch the red-haired man in black armor, the man in black armor moved. He bent his legs slightly and straightened them in an instant. Using the force of his legs, he rushed toward the huge octopus. The man in black armor was very fast. His body turned into a white line in the water and passed through the body of the huge octopus in an instant. He did not stop at all and headed toward the surface. After the man in black armor disappeared, the huge octopus suddenly stopped moving. Its body began to disintegrate rapidly, turning into pieces of meat that scattered in all directions. When the giant octopus disintegrated, the seawater was dyed red. The carnivorous marine creatures that smelled the blood swam over from all directions, snatching these pieces of meat. All of a sudden, a 5-colored beast core fell to the bottom of the ocean and was devoured by a small fish. The black-armored man rushed out of the sea and hovered a few meters above the sea. The black-armored man hung his bone-spike weapon on his waist and raised his left hand. His right index finger pressed on the vambrace on his left hand. The vambrace opened and a dark blue ray of light shot out. Soon, a 3D image of the entire Earth appeared in the light. The man in black armor looked at the 3D map and flew toward Hero City, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Yang Tian frowned when he saw the handsome Westerner who had suddenly appeared. This person gave him a very dangerous feeling. The only person who could pressure Yang Tian now was a level 9 martial artist. After Frenzy jumped down from the giant bat's back, he stabbed the giant sword in his hand into the ground and looked at Yang Tian with a smile. Whoosh! Perhaps it had sensed Frenzy's aura. The unicorn snorted and nervously dug the ground with its front hooves. The little blue dragon was not affected by Frenzy at all. It hid in the canopy of a tree far away and looked at Frenzy excitedly. This person did not come with good intentions. Yang Tian pulled out the blade beside him and stood up. As Yang Tian's strength increased rapidly, the enemies he faced were also getting stronger. Previously, it was the level 8 martial artist brothers Du Xiongwu and Du Xiongwen. Now, there was a level 9 martial artist looking for him. "You must be Yang Tian. My name is Frenzy. Someone asked me to kill you." Frenzy looked at Yang Tian with the same smile on his face and said lightly, "Frenzy?" Yang Tian had never heard of this name. However, Yang Tian only needed to know that he was a level 9 martial artist. He did not care who the other party was. If they wanted to find trouble with him, then he would defeat them or kill them. "Who asked you to kill me?" Yang Tian looked at Frenzy and asked calmly. Hiss! At this moment, the giant bat circling in the sky suddenly screamed and shot an offensive sound wave at Yang Tian. Yang Tian felt a slight pain in his ears from the piercing sound. Fortunately, as soon as Frenzy appeared, he began to use his mind to call upon a large amount of the power of the Dragon Ball. The surface of the skin under his clothes had already grown scales. Although the giant bat's sound wave was powerful, it could not cause serious damage to Yang Tian. The offensive sound wave it emitted was even stronger than the sound wave it used to attack Du Xiongwu. Seeing that his pet beast's special attack could not hurt Yang Tian, Frenzy nodded and said, "A woman called Zhu Shaoqing." When he heard the words Zhu Shaoqing, Yang Tian's face did not show any surprise. This was already within his expectations. Yang Tian smiled and said, "To be able to invite a level 9 martial artist, Zhu Shaoqing must have paid a high price, right?" Frenzy nodded. "Her husband, Du Xiongwu, is dead and she became my maid. I like mature women like her. She voluntarily delivered herself to me, so I couldn't refuse. But as a martial artist, I have to keep my promise. So, I'm here to kill you." After Yang Tian learned of Zhu Shaoqing's fate, he did not feel happy. Because Zhu Shaoqing was like an ant to him. Letting her go before was like letting an ant go. Yang Tian had long had the mentality of a powerhouse. "Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you if you come to kill me? You should know that I'm also a level 9 martial artist now," Yang Tian said calmly as soon as Frenzy finished speaking. Frenzy pointed to the sky and smiled. "You becoming a level 9 martial artist is indeed beyond my expectations. But you're only one person, while I have a level 8 pet beast. With its help, how can you be a match for me?" After Frenzy finished speaking, his figure flashed and he appeared in front of Yang Tian in the blink of an eye. When he moved, there was a slight sonic boom. Frenzy was very fast and he was very good at seizing opportunities. Frenzy thought that Yang Tian would panic when he heard that a pet beast was helping him. But what Frenzy didn't know was that Yang Tian also had a pet beast. Moreover, it was a pet beast that was not in the same level as an exotic beast. The little blue dragon. Yang Tian was very experienced in fighting and he was always on guard against Frenzy. When Frenzy moved, he moved as well. Bang! Frenzy's attack slashed across Yang Tian's shadow and landed on the ground with a loud bang. Chapter 118. In the sky above this short mountain, there was a huge black bat circling around. It naturally attracted many martial artists over. This was because they knew that Yang Tian was here, and this huge black bat was the level 9 warrior Frenzy's pet beast. It was the only one in the world. When two of the world's top fighters met, it was only natural that an exciting show would take place. They naturally didn't want to miss out on such a good show. Soon, a large number of warriors gathered a few hundred meters away from the hill. These warriors all took out their binoculars and placed them in front of their eyes, watching Yang Tian and Frenzy. There were also some smart warriors who connected their auxiliary devices to their binoculars to record the encounter between Yang Tian and Frenzy and broadcast it on the internet. Yang Tian and Frenzy naturally knew that there were many people around them, but they didn't care. Yang Tian dodged Frenzy's sudden slash and dodged to the side. At this moment, Frenzy didn't continue attacking Yang Tian. Instead, He stopped about 10 meters away from Yang Tian. So fast! Exciting! I didn't get to see the competition in Tianxiong City with my own eyes. This time, my wish is finally fulfilled. The warriors with binoculars sighed, causing those who didn't to feel envious. However, they didn't dare to move forward. When frenzy retreated, the huge bat in the sky once again released a special frequency sound wave to attack Yang Tian. Yang Tian's ears hurt from this sound wave again. His mind was a little muddled and he wasn't as clear-headed as before. The huge bat's sound wave attack was really too powerful. It was no wonder that Frenzy was confident in killing Yang Tian even after knowing that Yang Tian was a level 9 warrior. Pfft. Seeing Yang Tian's frown, Frenzy knew that his tamed beast was already attacking Yang Tian. With a flicker, he appeared before Yang Tian once more. This time, his speed was even faster than before. Looking at the incoming sword, Yang Tian focused his mind and dodged to the side again. However, just as his body broke through the air resistance, Frenzy's greatsword had already landed on his chest. Purring! With a muffled sound, Yang Tian was sent flying by Frenzy's sword. This sword did not break Yang Tian's skin because Yang Tian had already used the power of the Dragon Ball to grow extremely defensive scales on his chest. In addition, he was wearing the leather armor given to him by Qin Lao. Although the sword did not injure Yang Tian's flesh, the impact caused Yang Tian's chest to feel stuffy, and his organs were slightly damaged. When Yang Tian landed on the ground, he forcefully swallowed a mouthful of blood that had surged up his throat. It had been a long time since he was injured. Yang Tian flipped over and got up. He coldly glanced at Frenzy, who had raised his greatsword again, and the huge black bat circling in the sky. If it was just Frenzy alone, Yang Tian was more than 80% sure that he could defeat him. However, with this huge bat, Yang Tian was at a disadvantage. Sure enough, with a tamed beast, a warrior's combat strength would increase exponentially. It was no wonder that every martial artist wanted a pet beast. At this moment, the unicorn had already run to the bottom of the hill and was far away. It didn't dare to fly up. This was because it was only a level 4 beast, while the huge bat in the sky was at least level 7 or above. Yang Tian, you can't beat me. Your tamed beast is still too weak. When he said this, Frenzy looked at Yang Tian with a hint of contempt, as if he was certain that Yang Tian was about to die in his hands. Yang Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, "You have a tamed beast, so do I. If I let my tamed beast out, I'm afraid you'll get a shock." When Yang Tian said this, Frenzy pretended to be curious and widened his eyes. "Sure. Then take it out and let me see." Yang Tian nodded very seriously. Then, he turned around and said loudly, "Xiao Long, it's your turn. Kill that ugly monster." Squeak squeak. The little blue dragon, who was lying on a tree, roared excitedly. In the eyes of Frenzy and the surrounding warriors, a green shadow suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Yang Tian. It was actually a very small dragon. The little blue dragon had swallowed many beast cores in the past month, and its body seemed to have become thicker, but its length didn't change much. A dragon! Seeing the little blue dragon appear beside Yang Tian, Frenzy was really surprised this time. Shush! The little blue dragon paused beside Yang Tian for a moment, then suddenly charged into the sky. All this time, the little blue dragon had been concealing its presence. The nearby beasts and warriors were unable to detect its presence. At this time, the little blue dragon stopped concealing its presence. Moreover, when it was in the air, its body quickly grew. In a few blinks of an eye, it became a giant dragon with a diameter of more than 5 meters. To the giant black bat, the little blue dragon was already a giant in its eyes. A powerful presence was emitted from the little blue dragon's body. It was domineering, and for a moment, the giant black bat was intimidated. This cunning fellow quickly reacted and flapped its wings to fly away, wanting to escape. Of course, the little blue dragon wouldn't let the giant black bat go. It immediately chased after it. Its speed was much faster than the giant black bat. In an instant, it appeared above the giant black bat's head and slammed down with its claw. The black bat didn't even have the chance to resist and was slapped to the ground by the little blue dragon's claw. The little blue dragon didn't let it go. It swooped down and pressed the black bat under its claw, stopping it from moving. Roar! After easily defeating the black bat, the little blue dragon proudly let out a dragon's roar that reverberated through the sky. The little blue dragon's roar caused all the beasts within dozens of kilometers to flee in panic. At this time, Frenzy and the other warriors who were watching the battle finally came to their senses. Yang Tian looked at Frenzy and smiled. "Did my pet beast scare you? Now, there are no more beasts to disturb our battle. Let's continue." The smile on Frenzy's face was gone. Instead, it was replaced by a serious expression. He didn't expect that Yang Tian would have such a terrifying pet beast. It was a dragon. An eastern giant dragon. Without the giant black bat to help him, Frenzy's chances of defeating Yang Tian were much lower. "You've hidden it too well. How could you hide such a powerful pet beast until now?" Frenzy gritted his teeth. Yang Tian's behavior made him very angry, and a feeling of grievance appeared in his heart for no reason. Why didn't he let out such a powerful pet beast earlier? Letting it out now was equivalent to bullying others. Pfft! There was a soft sound. Yang Tian didn't want to waste any more words with Frenzy. In a flash, he appeared in front of Frenzy and slashed at him. Frenzy was a peak level 9 martial artist. Naturally, he wasn't weak. Facing Yang Tian's attack, he raised his sword to meet it. Bang! When the two weapons made contact, there was a sound like an explosion. Yang Tian's attack was very powerful, and he even borrowed the force of the impact. Frenzy couldn't use his full strength. Yang Tian's attack forced him to quickly retreat. Hiss! Yang Tian used the snow cleaver and chased after Frenzy. "By the way, I have something to do at home tomorrow. Of course, I won't stop updating, but I'll be updating later. I'll update all 3 chapters at night. Have fun on your last day of vacation." Chapter 119. In the eyes of the spectating warriors, the saber in Yang Tian's hand turned into sharp white rays of light, forming a huge net of light that enveloped Frenzy. In Frenzy's eyes, the trajectory of each of Yang Tian's saber attacks appeared clearly in his eyes. Even so, Frenzy still felt that Yang Tian's saber was extremely fast, making him feel powerless. Most importantly, Yang Tian's saber attacks were too steady. With Frenzy's experience in combat, he knew that Yang Tian's saber attacks had a terrifying cutting power. Frenzy focused and sped up his retreat. Pung! Suddenly, Frenzy seized the opportunity and raised the huge sword in his hand, just in time to make contact with the saber in Yang Tian's hand. The two of them were once again blasted apart by this powerful force. Yang Tian's continuous saber attacks were finally interrupted, and Frenzy was no longer passive and was freed from the temporary crisis. Puff, however, Yang Tian only paused for a moment and once again rushed towards Frenzy. Frenzy focused his mind and waved the huge sword in his hand into a circle of light, while the saber in Yang Tian's hand once again turned into a net of light made of countless white rays. Yang Tian's saber techniques were fast, but Frenzy's sword techniques were not slow either. Pung pung pung, consecutive collisions sounded again. The figures of the two flashed, suddenly colliding and then suddenly separating. It looked like the two of them were like two rapidly moving balloons, colliding, separating, and colliding again. However, in the instant of this collision, the two of them attacked and defended no less than 10 times. At this level of battle, the spectating warriors could not even clearly see the moves and movements of the two of them. This was already beyond the scope of their visual abilities. For a moment, the spectating warriors were mesmerized by the battle between the two of them. Last time, when Yang Tian and Du Xiongwu forcefully raised their realms, the process of the battle was not as exciting as this. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, this kind of battle was in a stalemate. Whether it was strength or speed, there was not much difference between the two. It was as if they were fighting to a draw. In reality, wounds were constantly appearing on their bodies. As their figures flashed rapidly, the blood in their bodies flowed rapidly and spurted out from their wounds from time to time, forming a bloody mist. This blood mist was then dispersed by the rapid airflow brought about by their bodies. It seemed that their strength was equal, but in reality, Yang Tian had the advantage because he had the dragon orb in his body. The power of the dragon orb could allow Yang Tian to maintain a high-intensity combat state for a long time. As for Frenzy, as the battle dragged on, he began to feel powerless. This situation was just like the battle between Yang Tian and Feng De. Yang Tian had used his own endurance to exhaust Feng De, seeing that Yang Tian's strength and speed were still at their peak, and that she was about to be unable to hold on. Frenzy seized the opportunity and used all her strength to meet Yang Tian's attack head-on with the greatsword in her hand. Peng! With a loud sound, Yang Tian and Frenzy were simultaneously blasted away by this powerful force. Frenzy seized the opportunity and turned to run. His figure flashed a few times and disappeared from the eyes of the spectating warriors. If he could not win, then he would run. Frenzy would not be like Feng De, stubbornly enduring and being defeated by Yang Tian, although this was a very shameful matter. However, compared to a warrior's life, life was more important. Frenzy had lived for so many years, and had long become a shrewd person. Seeing that Frenzy wanted to escape, Yang Tian laughed coldly and chased after him with his saber. He knew that after more than an hour of battle, Frenzy's strength was almost exhausted. The dark strength in a warrior's body naturally could not compare to the power of his dragon pearl, and could not last for too long. Yang Tian knew that Frenzy could not beat him. Then when he ran, he would be caught up by him very quickly. One had to know that rapid movement also consumed the body's energy. Yeah. Frenzy actually escaped. Yeah. The Frenzy who has been famous for decades was actually defeated by Yang Tian. It's really too inconceivable. Yang Tian is too powerful. He's not even 20 years old this year. Frenzy escaped and Yang Tian chased after him. Soon, they disappeared from the eyes of the warriors. Although they could not see the battle clearly, even an idiot could see that Frenzy was defeated. Otherwise, he would not have suddenly escaped. While the warriors were discussing in a surprised tone, they also turned their attention to the little blue dragon. At this time, the little blue dragon was using one of its front claws to firmly pin Frenzy's giant black bat on the ground. The black bat struggled for a while at first, but when it saw that the little blue dragon's strength was getting stronger, it gave up resisting. It was afraid that if it could not escape from the little blue dragon's claws, it would be crushed into a pile of minced meat. Yang Tian went to chase after Frenzy. The little blue dragon was not at ease, so it suddenly raised its claws to pin down the black bat. The black bat was waiting for this moment. When it saw the little blue dragon let go, it immediately flapped its wings and tried to escape. But boom! There was a loud noise and the ground shook. The little blue dragon rushed forward and slapped the black bat with its powerful tail, causing the black bat to sink into the ground. After the little blue dragon slapped the black bat with its tail, it no longer paid attention to this ugly thing. It flew into the sky and headed toward where Yang Tian was. The unicorn also carried Yang Tian's backpack in its mouth, flapped its wings, and flew into the sky, chasing after the little blue dragon. After the little blue dragon left, there was no movement at all in the huge gully that the little blue dragon had slapped. After more than 10 minutes, a brave warrior came over and looked at the deep gully that was dozens of meters deep and more than 10 meters wide. He saw that the black bat had already been turned into a pile of minced meat. This giant black bat was a level 7 exotic beast. A martial artist broke open its head and took out a golden level 7 beast core. A level 7 beast core. The warrior who was holding the beast core looked at the beast core in his hand with shining eyes. He really wanted to have it. However, he knew that without Yang Tian's permission, he would not dare to take the beast core for himself. If it wasn't at this moment, but at some other place, this cultivator would never have held this class 7 beast core in his hand, because doing so would be akin to courting death. But at this moment, no warrior dared to come and snatch it because they all knew that this beast core belonged to Yang Tian. After an hour, huff, huff, the frenzy, who had been traveling at high speed for an hour, had already stopped. He was half kneeling on the ground, panting heavily. And Yang Tian was in front of him at this moment. Looking at Yang Tian holding his sword and slowly walking toward him, the frenzy's heart was cold and filled with despair. He had lost, but Yang Tian had chased after him. This meant that Yang Tian would not let him go. At this moment, the frenzy had no strength to resist at all. When Yang Tian stood in front of the frenzy and raised his sword, the frenzy laughed. Yang Tian, everything I have is yours. You will become the top existence in this world. You will be like me, lost. Apart from enjoying. Pfft. Before the frenzy could finish speaking, Yang Tian chopped off his head. Seeing the headless corpse of the frenzy fall, Yang Tian said indifferently, I won't be like you. A level 9 warrior is not the peak of a warrior. Chapter 120. Sixth Update. Chapter 1. After killing the frenzy, the little blue dragon and the unicorn flew over. At this time, the little blue dragon had already returned to its original size. Its body was only 1 foot long. It was hard to imagine that it was a giant dragon roaring in the sky. This kind of transformation ability was something that no exotic beast in this world had. The frenzy fled towards the south. After Yang Tian took the backpack from the unicorn's mouth, he carried it on his body and continued north. He had to pass by Ulan City again. When he came to chase after the frenzy, Yang Tian increased his speed to the maximum. In a little more than an hour, he had traveled hundreds of kilometers. He only returned to his original place in the evening. Young Senior, this is a level 7 beast core. Here, take it. The middle-aged warrior who had obtained the level 7 beast core from the black bat's corpse was still standing there, waiting for Yang Tian's arrival. As soon as Yang Tian appeared, this person came forward and handed the level 7 beast core to Yang Tian. No warrior would dare to offend a level 9 warrior. This person called Yang Tian Senior. Yang Tian did not say anything. Before becoming a warrior, one's strength was respected. He was now a level 9 warrior. It was reasonable for a warrior who was lower than him to call him senior. Yang Tian looked at this middle-aged warrior. Seeing that this person was a level 5 warrior and spoke fluent Mandarin, he asked, Are you Han? The middle-aged warrior nodded. Yes, I moved to Ulan City a few years ago. My name is Wang Jun. When Wang Jun answered, he was a little excited and nervous. Seeing that Wang Jun was about to become a level 6 warrior, Yang Dao smiled. You can keep this level 7 beast core for yourself. Consider it a gift from me. When Wang Jun heard this, he opened his mouth in shock. Yang Tian smiled and turned to leave. Wang Jun stared blankly at Yang Tian. He was very excited. For a moment, he was speechless. He watched as Yang Tian left his sight. Big brother, your luck is really good. Yes. No one would dare to snatch what Senior Yang gave to you. Once you reach level 6, you can swallow this beast core and become a level 7 warrior. Senior Yang is truly generous. Looking at the level 7 beast core in Wang Jun's hand, Wang Jun's teammates commented enviously. Yang Tian did not enter Wulan City. After giving the class 7 beast core to Wang Jun, he continued to head west according to the map. Senior Yang, wait a moment. After walking for a short distance, a martial artist quickly ran over. This person looked to be in his early 30s with short hair. Because he had to catch up with Yang Tian, he ran until he was out of breath. Yang Tian turned around and looked at this person. This martial artist came in front of Yang Tian and smiled. Senior Yang, my name is Su Ying. I'm a level 4 martial artist. I'm the brother of Su Jiao and Su Fangrong. After Su Ying finished speaking, Yang Tian immediately remembered the woman and the little girl he saved in Black Rock City. I'm here to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I would have lost my 2 sisters. Su Ying scratched his head shyly and said with a smile. Yang Tian nodded and smiled. You're welcome. As long as it's a martial artist with a sense of justice, they would have helped the 2 sisters when they encountered such a situation. Su Ying nodded in agreement. Senior Yang, you're right. However, in this world, there aren't many people like you. If you're willing to set up an organization like the Martial Arts Committee or the Martial Arts Dojo to regulate the behavior of martial artists, that would be great. By doing so, you'll be able to save even more people. When Su Ying said this, although he was a little nervous, he looked at Yang Tian expectantly. Set up an organization? Yang Tian did indeed have the qualifications now. If he announced that he was setting up a martial arts dojo now, he believed that many people would join because he was now a level 9 martial artist, the pinnacle of existence in this world. Yang Tian thought for a moment and nodded. I'll consider it. Thank you for your reminder. Su Ying smiled. My 2 sisters know that I'm coming and asked me to send their regards to you. My younger sister, Su Fangrong, also asked you not to forget your promise with her. This little girl. Yang Tian smiled. Tell your younger sister not to worry. I remember. After parting with Su Ying, Yang Tian stroked his chin and pondered as he walked forward. Just now, when Su Ying mentioned to him about establishing an organization, Yang Tianbi was moved. One had to know that in this world, no matter how strong a person was, there weren't many things that he could do. If he could set up an organization and let this organization act according to his will, he could do a lot of things. However, this was a complicated project. It wasn't something that could be done with just a shout. The stronger the ability, the greater the responsibility. This sentence kept appearing in Yang Tian's mind as he pondered. 60 or 70 years ago, when mankind was in danger of extinction, countless martial artists advanced dauntlessly and used their own lives and blood to pull mankind back from the brink of extinction. At that time, the martial artists of the world united as one to resist the invasion of the strange beast. That was an era where blood boiled. 60 years had passed, and the level 9 warriors who had reached the top had all disappeared. Only a small number of people remained in this world for various reasons. As for the other warriors, because of the constant fighting, they had exhausted their mental and physical strength. Although in theory they could live for more than 150 years, most of the warriors of that era had passed away before they reached 100 years old. It was time to make some changes to this world. A month later. It was already summer, and the weather was getting hotter. At this time, Yang Tian had already arrived in front of a nameless lake. The map indicated that there was a level 8 strange beast here. The little blue dragon had already sensed the existence of the strange beast. It was in the lake in front of Yang Tian. This lake still belonged to the original Russian territory. Yang Tian couldn't find its name even through the martial artist's auxiliary device. Perhaps there was no lake here before the outbreak of the YS virus. The YS virus had changed the strange beasts and human life. It had also indirectly changed the world's climate and environment. Once the climate changed, the geology changed as well. This lake was at least a few thousand acres in size. The surface of the lake was calm and still. With a splash, the little blue dragon transformed again into a giant dragon and plunged into the lake. Rumble, a few minutes later, the ground started to shake. Then, huge waves appeared on the lake. With a splash, the little blue dragon suddenly rushed out of the lake and flew into the air. At this time, a giant black turtle floated out of the water. It opened its mouth and shot a water arrow at the little blue dragon. With a splash, the water arrow hit the little blue dragon and sent Little Blue tumbling in the air. The strange beast in the lake was actually a giant turtle. This giant turtle's shell was more than 50 meters long and wide. The shell looked very thick, at least a few meters. The claws that were exposed outside the shell were covered in thick scales. One look and one could tell that the turtle's defense was amazing. Little Azure Dragon had obviously angered the giant tortoise. After shooting a water arrow at Little Azure Dragon, the giant tortoise crawled towards the shore, ignoring Yang Tian, who was on the shore. Chapter 121. Sixth Update. Chapter 2. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The giant tortoise's body was heavy. With every step it took, the ground would tremble. With a soft sound, Yang Tian used the power of the Dragon Ball in his body and broke through the air resistance. He arrived in front of the giant tortoise's head like lightning, jumped up high, and slashed at the giant tortoise's head. Purring! When Yang Tian's sharp slash landed on the giant tortoise's head, the blade actually bounced off. It only left a shallow mark on the tortoise's head. As for the giant tortoise, it swung its head and knocked Yang Tian and his blade to the side. Yang Tian flipped over and landed on the ground. The giant tortoise turned its head and looked coldly at Yang Tian. Then, it climbed onto the shore and moved toward the little blue dragon. As a level 9 warrior, Yang Tian was ignored by the giant tortoise. The giant tortoise's speed was not slow. With every step, it covered more than 10 meters. It was like a tank moving forward at high speed. At this time, the little blue dragon deliberately led the giant tortoise away from the lake. It hovered dozens of meters in the air and was always dozens of meters away from the giant tortoise. The giant tortoise's head did not seem to be very bright. It allowed the little blue dragon to lead it away. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Yang Tian stood in front of the giant tortoise. Looking at this giant tortoise was like looking at a moving building. With every step the giant tortoise took, the ground shook. Yang Tian's body also shook along with the ground. Huff! At this time, the unicorn flapped its wings and flew up, landing on the giant tortoise's shell. This guy, when did he become so bold? Yang Tian looked at the unicorn's behavior and laughed. This giant tortoise was really not easy to kill. Yang Tian no longer cared about the unicorn. He aimed at one of the giant tortoise's eyes and rushed forward again, stabbing at the giant tortoise's eye. One of the weaknesses of exotic beasts was their eyes. This giant tortoise's eyes were round and bulging, with a diameter of close to 5 meters. Their surface was covered in a white, crystal-like substance that was dripping wet. Bang! The giant tortoise closed its eyes, and Yang Tian's saber stabbed into its eyelid. The tip of the saber went in slightly and could not pierce any further. The giant tortoise swung its head again, and Yang Tian had no choice but to dodge. The giant tortoise's reaction speed was unexpectedly fast. Yang Tian's movement was already close to the speed of sound, but he still couldn't pierce the giant tortoise's eyes. Yang Tian's stubborn temper flared up. He gritted his teeth and continuously attacked the giant tortoise's eyes. If his right eye didn't work, he would use his left eye. If the first time didn't work, then the second, the third, the fourth. In the short span of 2 minutes, Yang Tian kept jumping high and stabbing the giant tortoise's eyes with his saber. Bang! He didn't know how many times it was, but the saber in Yang Tian's hand finally pierced the giant tortoise's exposed eyes. However, what surprised Yang Tian was that the giant tortoise's eyes were incomparably tough and elastic. When Yang Tian's saber touched it, it bounced back. In the blink of an eye, the edge of its eyelid hit the saber. The saber in Yang Tian's hand was hit, and it bounced out of his hand. Yang Tian kicked at the giant tortoise's eye sockets, flipped in the air, and landed steadily on the ground. Perhaps it felt that Yang Tian was too annoying, but when Yang Tian picked up the saber, it turned its head and sprayed a stream of water at Yang Tian. Shoo, the power of this stream of water was very strong. Even at a distance of dozens of meters, it could still hit the little blue dragon's huge body and make it tumble a few times. Of course, Yang Tian didn't dare to stay where he was. He allowed the stream of water to hit his body, and his body moved, quickly dodging. Bang! The stream of water hit the place where Yang Tian was standing just now, and it actually caused an explosion. The sand and stones on the ground splashed everywhere, hitting Yang Tian's body. Yang Tian felt like his body was being hammered by countless fists, and he had to speed up his retreat. When the giant tortoise stopped spraying water, a gully of several meters deep and about 20 meters long appeared where Yang Tian was standing just now. This kind of powerful force was really terrifying. If he was hit directly by this stream of water, even if Yang Tian was a level 9 warrior, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian was stunned for a moment. Facing this giant tortoise, Yang Tian felt powerless for the first time. Its defense was too abnormal. Yang Tian was unable to pierce through its seemingly fragile pair of eyes with his saber. As for the water pillar that the giant tortoise spat out, its destructive power was also terrifyingly strong. Even Yang Tian had no choice but to dodge. At this moment, the unicorn on the tortoise's back raised its leg, and 2 streams of thick air came out of its nostrils. It used its front hooves to scratch the tortoise's back. What Yang Tian didn't expect was that the giant tortoise suddenly stopped, stretched its neck, turned its head, and looked behind it. The unicorn found that the giant tortoise turned its head, and it was so scared that its body trembled. It quickly flapped its wings and left quickly. Shoo! The unicorn had just flown off the tortoise's back when a stream of water was sprayed from the giant tortoise's mouth, almost hitting the unicorn. This giant tortoise's head could actually stretch so long. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian was very surprised and couldn't help but widen his eyes. Just now, Yang Tian kept stabbing the giant tortoise's eyes with his knife, but the giant tortoise didn't have such a reaction. But the unicorn only used its front hooves to scratch the giant tortoise's back, and the giant tortoise actually had such a big reaction. Could it be that the giant tortoise's weakness was on its back? No creature in this world could be perfect. This giant tortoise seemed to have amazing defensive ability, but in reality, it definitely had a weakness. It was just that Yang Tian didn't discover it for a while. Previously, Yang Tian thought that the giant tortoise's weakness was its eyes, but in reality, it wasn't. But the tortoise's back should be the hardest part of the giant tortoise's body. Roar! At this moment, the little blue dragon roared to the sky. The giant tortoise's attention was immediately attracted by the little blue dragon. In the giant tortoise's view, the giant dragon above its head was its biggest threat. Xiao Long, attract its attention, Yang Tian said loudly to the little blue dragon. His figure flashed, and he arrived at the giant tortoise's tail. He jumped onto the tortoise's tail and catapulted onto the tortoise's back. To Yang Tian, the giant tortoise's back was like a small island. If he built a basketball court on it, he could even play basketball. Rumble, rumble! The giant tortoise took a step forward again and chased after the little blue dragon. In Yang Tian's view, this big fellow's intelligence was lacking. It didn't consider how an animal that crawled on land could catch up to an exotic beast that flew in the sky. When Yang Tian got on the tortoise's back, he looked down. On the tortoise's back, there were trenches that were several meters wide and a meter deep. The giant tortoise had just come out of the water, and there was still a lot of water in these trenches. These trenches were naturally the patterns on the tortoise's shell. It was only because the giant tortoise was too big that these patterns were very wide and deep. These patterns divided the entire tortoise's shell into pieces, and in the middle of the tortoise's back, there was a red shell that was about 3 meters in diameter. This position was where the unicorn had stopped just now. Yang Tian immediately went forward, chuckled, and used the knife in his hand to make a cut on the tortoise's shell. Zzz. The knife made a grinding sound with the red tortoise's shell. Without using much strength, the tip of the knife went deep into the shell. At this moment, the giant tortoise stopped again, stretched its neck, turned its head, and looked coldly at Yang Tian. That's right. This was the giant tortoise's weakness. Chapter 122. Sixth Update. Chapter 3. When the giant tortoise turned its head, Yang Tian quickly dodged and jumped down from the giant tortoise's back. Shush! The giant tortoise opened its mouth and spat out a white water column. Seeing that Yang Tian had left its back, the giant tortoise turned its head again and looked at the sky, moving in the direction of the little blue dragon. Yang Tian inserted his sword into the scabbard hanging from his waist and used the power of the dragon orb to turn his hands into dragon claws. Taking advantage of the giant tortoise not noticing him, Yang Tian jumped onto the tortoise's back again, raised his claws, and quickly scratched the red tortoise shell. Puff, puff, puff. A continuous sound rang out. Yang Tian's claws and the red tortoise shell made a continuous friction sound. The red tortoise shell was shattered by Yang Tian's claws like gravel. Yang Tian's claws scratched open a hole with a diameter of more than 10 centimeters and a depth of about 500 meters quickly appeared. This red tortoise shell was very dry, just like a stone. It probably didn't have any nerves that felt pain. The giant tortoise's reaction was probably because this piece of tortoise shell vibrated and made it feel very itchy. After more than 10 seconds, seeing that the giant tortoise had turned its head, Yang Tian could only give up and jump down from the tortoise's back again. The giant tortoise also spat out a water column at Yang Tian. The giant tortoise's reaction speed was really too slow compared to Yang Tian's. It could be said that it was sluggish. No wonder people always liked to use the word tortoise to describe others when they were slow. Seeing that Yang Tian had left its back, the giant tortoise foolishly moved in the direction of the little blue dragon again. Yang Tian jumped onto the tortoise's back again. Just like that, after half an hour, Yang Tian had already dug a hole with a diameter of 1 meter and a depth of 1 meter on the red tortoise shell. At this time, Yang Tian was no longer afraid of the giant tortoise spitting out a water column at him, because the water column couldn't reach him at all. Seeing that the giant tortoise had stopped, he stretched his neck and turned around, immediately hiding in the hole. The giant tortoise's departure from the lake wasn't without limit. When it was about 5 kilometers away, no matter how the little blue dragon howled and threatened it, it ignored it and turned around, crawling in the direction of the lake. The little blue was much smarter than the giant tortoise. When the giant tortoise was halfway back, it landed and used its tail to slap the ground, threatening the giant tortoise. As expected, the giant tortoise turned around and chased after the little blue. The giant tortoise indeed, its back. Although this giant tortoise was a high-level exotic beast, its intelligence was really too low. It was completely acting on instinct. Yang Tian also understood why the giant tortoise chased after the little blue dragon without letting go. It felt that the little blue dragon had occupied its territory, and it had to chase the little blue dragon away. With the little blue dragon attracting the giant tortoise, Yang Tian was no longer worried and continued to dig. More than 10 minutes later, when the giant tortoise crawled back again, Yang Tian finally dug out the giant tortoise's red shell. What appeared in front of him was actually a nameplate that was not much bigger than a fingernail. On it was written, "Released at a certain place in 2015. Seeing this stainless steel nameplate, Yang Tian couldn't help but smile. Only now did he know why such a weakness appeared on the giant tortoise's back. It turned out that before this giant tortoise mutated, it was set free by a human. The person who set it free opened a hole in its shell and inlaid a nameplate. He didn't know what happened after that, but this stainless steel nameplate was actually buried in the tortoise shell and affected the material structure of the tortoise shell. One had to know that apart from this part of the tortoise shell, the other parts of the black tortoise shell were very hard. Yang Tian tried using his claws, but he was unable to break the black tortoise shell. Yang Tian removed the stainless steel nameplate. Below it was a layer of scarlet membrane, and the giant tortoise's thick blood vessels could be seen on it. Xiaolong, lure it a little further away. Unicorn, bring my backpack over. Yang Tian climbed out of the tortoise shell and shouted to the two smart exotic beasts. The little blue dragon flew a little lower, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, waving its dragon whiskers and letting out a low cry. The unicorn immediately flew to the lakeside and brought Yang Tian's backpack over. Yang Tian took the backpack from the unicorn's mouth and took out 2-timed high-explosive detonators. These were found in the backpacks of Wang Kun and the others after they killed the giant earthworm and attracted Wang Kun's group. At this time, these high-explosive detonators came in handy. Yang Tian set the high-explosive detonators to explode in 2 minutes. After throwing them into the tortoise shell, he immediately carried his backpack and jumped off the tortoise's back, staying far away. 30, 29, 28, 10, 9, 8, 7, boom! After Yang Tian jumped off the tortoise's back, he counted in his heart. When he counted to 7 in his heart, there was a loud sound. Yang Tian counted a little faster and missed by 7 seconds. The high-explosive detonators exploded, and a ball of blood shot up from the tortoise's back. From this ball of blood, Yang Tian could see that there were countless pieces of flesh mixed in it. This type of high-explosive detonator was extremely powerful, and it contained the most powerful explosive at the moment. The hole that Yang Tian dug out was only about 3 meters in diameter, and at that moment, the explosive force would definitely not be able to escape from this hole. Therefore, it would pour into the giant tortoise's body. Ordinary tortoises could not cry out because they did not have vocal cords. This giant tortoise was the same. When the 2 high-explosive detonators exploded, it caused great damage to its body. It only stretched its neck and opened its mouth to spit out a huge jet of water. At this time, the water that the giant tortoise spat out was no longer white, but blood-red. Boom! Suddenly, the giant tortoise's 4 legs went soft. The huge tortoise shell lost its support and crashed to the ground with a loud boom, causing the ground to tremble. Yang Tian wiped the few drops of blood that splashed on his face and walked towards the giant tortoise's head. The giant tortoise opened its eyes wide and looked at the approaching Yang Tian. It struggled to move, but in the end, it powerlessly lowered its head and closed its eyes. This big guy was finally done for. Another problem appeared, and that was that the giant tortoise's head was really too tough. Its skin was covered with black scales. It would probably take a very long time to break open this huge head. The little blue dragon landed on the ground and returned to its previous petite size. It lay on the side and looked at Yang Tian curiously. Yang Tian was not afraid of trouble. He removed the power of the dragon balls that covered his hands and returned to his human hands. He pulled out his blade and began to pry off the scales on the giant tortoise's head one by one from noon to night, and then to the next morning Yang Tian burned the midnight oil and finally broke open the giant tortoise's head. He ignored the stench and directly dived into the giant tortoise's brain through the hole he dug out. After a few minutes, he finally found an extremely hard object and grabbed it to pull out the giant tortoise's head. Yang Tian did not care about the brain matter on his body and used his hand to wipe off the liquid on the beast core. Under the morning sun, the beast core in Yang Tian's hand reflected a multicolored light. This was actually a 9th-rank beast core. Chapter 123. Chapter 4, Hero City, Bolia University. Xiao Fei, I keep having the feeling that someone is spying on us from outside. After the evening self-study session, the blonde Nuala opened the curtains and looked outside. She whispered to Qin Fei. Qin Fei frowned and walked to Nuala's side. She opened her eyes wide and looked outside the window. Qin Fei's dormitory was on the 8th floor. She could see very far. There was only light outside the window. Where was there anyone? Nuala, are you seeing things? This is the 8th floor. Qin Fei did not believe it. Nuala closed the pink curtains and said to Qin Fei seriously, "You have to believe me. I am a warrior, but you are not. My sixth sense is many times stronger than yours. My feeling can't be wrong." Qin Fei believed Nuala and nodded. She said worriedly, "Then what should we do? Someone who can climb up to the 8th floor must be a warrior. For safety reasons, I want to ask Mark to come over tomorrow. He is now a level 7 warrior." "I don't care, but I am very worried about you." Nuala thought for a while and said. Qin Fei nodded again. There was no other way but to ask Mark for help. Nuala smiled and said, "Oh right, where is your boyfriend, Yang Tian? When will he come to Hero City? With him around, we don't have to worry anymore. He was already a level 9 martial artist. That scum, Frenzy, was killed by him." The matter of Yang Tian killing Frenzy was now known to everyone. Frenzy's reputation was very bad. This was because the women he fancied could not escape his evil claws. Frenzy was also a level 9 warrior. In this world, no one could beat him. They could only let him do whatever he wanted. And now, Frenzy was killed by Yang Tian. The happiest people were the women in Hero City. Although they knew that Frenzy liked mature women, who knew when he would change his mind? Beautiful girls had been very worried about their safety before. That was because Frenzy could live for a long time. As time passed, the beautiful girls would eventually become mature women. By then it would be hard to say. When Frenzy harmed women, he would first kill all the women's relatives to make them despair. Then, he would use coercion and drugs to control them. It could be said that Yang Tian killing Frenzy was very satisfying. It was night time, and the two girls could not contact Mark. They could only lock the doors and windows and turn off the lights. Not long after, a red-haired man wearing black armor suddenly appeared outside the window. He held a bone spear and hovered outside the window. His blue eyes under the mask were focused on the inside of the window, as if he could see through the wall. Whoosh! Suddenly, Nora lifted the thin blanket covering her body, rushed to the window and pulled open the curtains. Nora's speed was very fast. She arrived in less than 3 seconds. But at this time, there was still a sea of lights outside the window. Nora frowned in confusion and drew the curtains. "Nuala, what's wrong?" The two girls were worried, so they slept in their clothes. Qin Fei was not asleep. She watched as Nuala got up, opened the curtains, and closed them. Then, she turned on the bedside lamp and asked Nuala, "Just now, I felt it again. But as soon as I moved, the feeling disappeared. If what I feel is true, then this mysterious person, I wonder how powerful he is." After Nora finished speaking, she sighed and sat on the edge of the bed. After that, Nuala did not sense anyone appearing outside the window for the entire night. The red-haired man in black armor, who was spying on the two girls, was now far away from Hero City. He appeared on the surface of the sea. This was where he first appeared. He dived into the sea and quickly dived to the bottom. Then, he walked to the center of the formation plate that was emitting a faint blue light. The formation plate suddenly spun faster, and the red-haired man in black armor disappeared. Black Manor. Ha ha. La la la. In the golden-walled hall, everyone, including Zhu Shaoqing, was laughing. They waved their arms and jumped around crazily. In the beginning, they were tortured by the frenzy. Then, they were forced to obey him. Then, because of the drugs, they enjoyed the pleasure of the flesh. Now that they had confirmed that the frenzy was dead, they did not even have any spiritual sustenance for him to come back. Click. At this moment, the door of the hall was unlocked, and the door was pushed open. 9 scantily clad women turned around when they heard the door open. What appeared in front of them was an old man in ragged clothes. Seeing these beautiful women, the old man's hunched back suddenly straightened, and his eyes brightened. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, a hoarse laugh came from the old man's mouth. Zhu Shaoqing recognized this old man. When her husband came here that day, It was this old man who reminded them to leave. In the end, Zhu Shaoqing did not listen to his advice, and she ended up like this. You don't have any men to serve. I can, my plaything is still okay. The old man finished laughing and said loudly. A few mature Western beauties immediately hooked their fingers at the old man, and the old man laughed and pounced on them. This old man was clearly also a martial artist. Although he looked very old, his body was actually very strong. After a little over an hour, he had satisfied 8 women. The old man was still not satisfied, and he looked at Zhu Shaoqing, who had been curled up in the corner. Zhu Shaoqing had only been here for a short time, so she had not been affected by the drugs that much. Seeing the naked old man pounce on her, she screamed and curled up in the corner. Ha ha ha! The old man laughed and grabbed Zhu Shaoqing's hand, and dragged her onto the bed. Zhu Shaoqing struggled with all her might, but her strength was no match for the old man's, and she could only be manipulated by him. 20 minutes later, the old man got up from Zhu Shaoqing's body with satisfaction. The old man glanced at the 8 sleeping Western women and Zhu Shaoqing, whose face was filled with tears. He smiled, picked up the clothes on the ground, and prepared to leave. Purring! Suddenly, the window broke open, and 2 people jumped in from outside. These 2 people were a man and a woman. They were both wearing leather armor, and they looked travel-worn. The man was wearing glasses, and he was holding a pair of sabers. The woman was very young, in her early 20s. These 2 people were Du Xiongwen and Du Mei. Mom! Du Mei saw Zhu Shaoqing, who was naked and covered in bruises, hiding on the bed, and cried out in grief. She quickly went forward and pulled the bed sheet to cover Zhu Shaoqing. Du Xiongwen coldly glanced at the old man, and then glanced at the entire hall, and frowned. Kill him! Zhu Shaoqing clenched her teeth, pointed at the old man, and said weakly. Du Xiongwen had already guessed what had happened. He raised his hand, and a short saber flew out from his hand. With a poof, it stabbed into the old man's chest. This old man was only a level 2 martial artist, so he was naturally no match for Du Xiongwen, who was a level 8 martial artist. He was easily killed by Du Xiongwen. Chapter 124. 6th Update. Chapter 5. The next day. Hero City Cemetery. Du Mei wiped her tears as she looked at the 2 new tombs in front of her. Du Xiongwu stood at the side with an expressionless face. A gust of wind blew and the leaves in the cemetery rustled. This made the entire cemetery seem even more silent and bleak. Du Xiongwen pushed up his glasses and looked at Du Mei. He said lightly, "Don't cry. I know you want revenge, but with your current strength, you are far from being Yang Tian's match. Suppress your hatred and wait for your chance." After Du Xiongwen finished speaking, Du Mei sobbed a few times. She pursed her lips and stopped her tears. Then, she clenched her fists and turned around to look at Du Xiongwen. She said, "Uncle, Yang Tian is already a level 9 martial artist, and I am only a level 3 martial artist. The difference between our realms is too great. When will I be able to take my revenge?" Du Xiongwen let out a long sigh and gritted his teeth. One could clearly see his cheeks puffing up. He looked up at the sky and said lightly, "No matter how strong a person is, there will be a time when they are weak. That time will be your chance, but you must remember your parents' lesson. They are too stupid." Du Mei bowed to the 2 tombstones. She wiped her tears and turned to leave the cemetery. Du Xiongwu looked at the 2 tombstones. He closed his eyes and looked up silently for a while before turning to leave. Of the 2 tombstones, one had Du Xiongwu's name engraved on it. His body was nowhere to be found. In the coffin in the tomb, there was a set of clothes he wore when he was alive and a Chinese chess set. The other tombstone had Zhu Xiaoqing's name engraved on it. After Zhu Xiaoqing was rescued last night, she committed suicide that night. To her, life no longer had any value, and she could not accept becoming an old woman 3 years later. After Du Xiongwen and Du Mei left, a woman in red walked over. This woman was Zhu Hongyu. After all, Zhu Shaoqing was Zhu Hongyu's biological sister. Since her sister was dead, she naturally had to pay her respects. Placing a bouquet of white flowers in front of Zhu Xiaoqing's tombstone, Zhu Hongyu looked at the photo on the tombstone and remained silent for a long time. Then, she turned and left. After the three of them, no one else came. Only the sound of the wind could be heard in the cemetery. May 2117. After traveling for more than a year, Yang Tian finally arrived at Hero City. Hero City was built in northwest London, which was now in ruins. It was now the largest city in the world, and also the city with the most number of martial artists in the world. Yang Tian sat on the back of the unicorn and crossed the English Channel before landing at the eastern gate of Hero City. When Yang Tian arrived at Hero City, he did not inform Qin Fei. This was because he had already lost contact with her a month ago. This was not because there was a problem with Qin Fei, but because Yang Tian's martial artist auxiliary device and satellite phone were already broken. No matter how sturdy and durable the high-tech things made by humans were, they would still be easily damaged in the hands of a level 9 martial artist. During this time, Yang Tian had successively killed 3 level 7 and 2 level 8 beasts, obtaining the corresponding number of beast cores. The process of fighting these 5 beasts was very easy for Yang Tian, because he was already a level 9 martial artist. After killing the giant tortoise, Yang Tian did not swallow the level 9 beast core. This was because he was in a hurry to travel. If he swallowed the level 9 beast core, he would not have enough energy like the previous time. Also, because of the Dragon Balls, the advancement process was very long. He was already impatient to see his girlfriend, Qin Fei. A man and a woman in love couldn't wait to stick together every day. From this point of view, one could understand Yang Tian's feelings during this period. The fact that he had been able to persist until the end of this journey was already very persevering. After not getting a haircut for more than a year, Yang Tian's hair already reached his shoulders. The leather armor on his body also looked very old. When he reached the entrance, Yang Tian showed his martial artist identification. Yang Tian, a level 8 martial artist. When they saw Yang Tian's martial artist identification, the martial artist guarding the entrance was very respectful to Yang Tian. They already knew that Yang Tian was already a level 9 martial artist. The fact that he had killed the frenzy was the best proof. Although Yang Tian's martial artist identification still stated that he was a level 8 martial artist, it still stated that he was a level 8 martial artist. At this moment, the little blue dragon was sleeping soundly in Yang Tian's backpack. The unicorn's eyes were filled with anticipation. It understood human nature and knew that it would soon see its mistress. In the unicorn's heart, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were both terrifying fellows. Furthermore, Yang Tian had given it a name called Unicorn. It was very dissatisfied and couldn't wait to see its mistress. Now, the unicorn was already a level 5 exotic beast. After entering the city, Yang Tian found the largest hotel and booked the largest and most luxurious suite. This was because there was a very large bath in the room. Yang Tian, who hadn't bathed in a long time, took off his clothes as soon as he entered the room and thoroughly washed himself. The unicorn didn't like bathing, but it was forced into the bath by Yang Tian. Yang Tian used shower gel to wash its body clean. After being washed clean by Yang Tian, the unicorn's fur became brighter. However, its wings were wet and didn't look as beautiful, affecting its elegant temperament. As for the little blue dragon, Yang Tian didn't care about it. This was because the little blue dragon actually loved cleanliness very much. Even the unicorn couldn't compare to it. After changing into clean clothes and drying his hair, Yang Tian placed his things in the hotel room and left the hotel with the unicorn. It was daytime, not Sunday, and Qin Fei wasn't on holiday. Yang Tian planned to go directly to Bolia University to look for Qin Fei. Carrying the saber that never left his side, Yang Tian went out. After asking for directions, he went to Bolia University with the unicorn. A man and a beast walked in Hero City. They were very eye-catching, especially the unicorn, which attracted the attention of almost all the women. This snow-white horse was an animal that almost all the women liked. Hero City was the city with the highest number of warriors in the world. Coupled with the lax management, it was common for warriors to fight among themselves. As Yang Tian walked, he saw many warriors fighting on the street. Naturally, there was a large group of onlookers at the side. Such a situation was very rare in Tianxiong City. If warriors wanted to settle problems with a duel, they would usually go outside the city. Warriors were strictly prohibited from fighting in the city. This was actually a protective measure for ordinary people. This was because when warriors fought, it was inevitable that the onlookers would be hurt. Hero City was very big. Yang Tian walked for more than an hour before arriving at the entrance of Bolia University. Yang Tian stood at the entrance with a snow-white unicorn standing obediently beside him. This naturally attracted the attention of many students. Chapter 125. Hey handsome, is this your pet beast? It's so beautiful. Can I be friends with you? Yang Tian stood at the door for less than 2 minutes before a brown-haired beauty with a hot figure walked over and greeted Yang Tian. I'm sorry, I already have a girlfriend. Yang Tian rejected her politely. He knew what this brown-haired beauty meant. Being friends was actually becoming Yang Tian's girlfriend. This girl wasn't interested in Yang Tian, but in Yang Tian's unicorn. Compared to the girls in the Eastern world, the girls in the Western world were more open and lively. Of course, this was in proportion. There were also such girls in the Eastern world, and there were quite a few of them. After being rejected, the brown-haired girl shrugged and left helplessly. More than 10 minutes later, a girl in a white dress accompanied by a blonde girl walked out of the campus. Behind the two girls was a tall blonde man. When the girl in the white dress saw Yang Tian, she ran over and was embraced by Yang Tian. The girl in the white dress was naturally Qin Fei, the blonde girl was Nola, and the young man was Mark. Yang Tian hugged Qin Fei and spun her around a few times before putting her down. Yang Tian, why are you only here now? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Qin Fei leaned into Yang Tian's embrace and muttered, My warrior support tool is broken. Yang Tian hugged Qin Fei's slender waist tightly as he whispered apologetically into her ear. Qin Fei shook her head and pouted. It's all Grandpa's fault. He asked you to walk to Hero City. Why didn't he ask you to swim across the English Channel? This is too much. Yang Tian smiled. Grandpa is doing this for my own good. Mark and Nola walked over, and Yang Tian and Qin Fei separated. Hi Yang, long time no see. Mark walked up and patted Yang Tian's shoulder when he saw the two separated. Yang Tian and Mark had been good friends for a long time. The two of them gave each other a warm hug. Yang, I haven't seen you for more than a year. You've grown a lot taller and stronger. It's a pity that you are now a level 9 warrior. I can't beat you. Mark looked at Yang Tian and shrugged helplessly. Yang Tian could not help but snicker. At this time, Qin Fei pulled Yang Tian aside and introduced her to Yang Tian. This is my good friend, Nuala. I told you about her on the phone. Yang Tian shook hands with Nora. Hello Yang. I've wanted to see you for a long time. I'm very curious about the man that Qin Fei likes, Nola said in broken Chinese. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for taking care of Xiao Fei. Yang Tian thanked him with a smile. Nora waved her hand. You're too polite. Xiao Fei and I are good friends. It's only right. At this time, the unicorn snorted as if it was protesting that it was ignored by the four of them. Yang Tian then turned around and said to Qin Fei, Do you like this little guy? This is the gift I want to give you. This little guy can fly. In the future, he can bring you to fly freely in the sky. Qin Fei already knew that Yang Tian was going to give her a unicorn. She had seen Mark's pet beast before. She liked this kind of snow-white and docile beast very much. Yang Tian, I like it very much. Qin Fei nodded at Yang Tian affectionately. Then, she reached out her hand and wanted to touch the unicorn's head. Although Yang Tian called the unicorn a little guy, it was actually not small. When it raised its head, it was taller than Yang Tian. It was already an adult. Seeing Qin Fei reach out her hand, the unicorn took the initiative to take a step forward. Its face rubbed against Qin Fei's hand as if it was trying to please her. This guy really knows how to please people. Yang Tian looked at how the unicorn was closer to Qin Fei than to him. He shook his head, frowned, and said with a sour tone. Seeing Yang Tian's expression, Qin Fei could not help but laugh. The four of them left the school and found a restaurant nearby. Because of Yang Tian's arrival, Qin Fei did not go to school after lunch. After the two of them separated from Mark and Nora, they went to the forest behind the school for a walk. The unicorn followed behind the two of them with its head down. It felt that its mistress liked its master more. Xiao Fei, is what Nora said true? Some time ago, someone was spying on you. Yang Tian asked Qin Fei as he recalled something that Nora mentioned earlier during the meal. Qin Fei stroked the hair beside her ear and nodded. Nora is a martial artist. Her intuition has always been very accurate. It shouldn't be wrong. Yang Tian was a level 9 martial artist. Naturally, he knew that martial artists had a sharp sixth sense. He remembered Nora's description and knew that the person who spied on Qin Fei and Nora was definitely not a simple person. This was actually Yang Tian's sixth sense. Let's not talk about this anymore. Yang Tian, tell me, have you met other girls in the past year? Qin Fei turned around and pouted. She looked into Yang Tian's eyes and asked. This was the problem that almost all girls would worry about when they met an outstanding boyfriend. In the past, Qin Fei was not worried because Yang Tian was not a high-ranked martial artist. But now, Yang Tian was still young, but he was already a pinnacle martial artist. Qin Fei did not know if Yang Tian would still be as loyal to her as he was in the past. One had to know that in this world, powerful men would always attract outstanding women. Unexpectedly, Yang Tian answered honestly, I did. When I was in Black Rock City, Yang Tian told Qin Fei about Su Jiao and Su Fangrong. A hero saving a damsel in distress. Later on, did that beauty give her heart to you? Qin Fei joked. How could that be? I have you. Why would I like other girls? Yang Tian looked at Qin Fei and said very seriously. Yang Tian was not a boy who knew how to sweet-talk. If other men encountered this situation, they would definitely swear. Qin Fei looked at Yang Tian's serious expression and touched Yang Tian's face that was rougher than before. Suddenly, she stood on her tiptoes and pressed her rosy lips on Yang Tian's lip. Yang Tian naturally hugged Qin Fei's waist. It was the first time the two kissed, so they were not familiar with it. After a minute, they separated. After the two separated, they looked around with a guilty conscience. After confirming that there was no one around, they heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. Yang Tian, let's go and meet my parents later. They already know that you are here. Qin Fei held Yang Tian's arm and leaned on Yang Tian's shoulder as she said. Okay. Yang Tian nodded. It was also time to meet Qin Fei's parents. Yang Tian was preparing to propose to Qin Fei. The two's family situation determined their marriage. It was still necessary for their parents to agree. Yang Tian's side naturally had no problem. Yang Tian's father, Yang Lin, and mother, Wang Hong, had long regarded Qin Fei as their daughter-in-law. But Qin Fei's parents, although Yang Tian was already a level 9 martial artist, he could not help but feel nervous at the thought of meeting his future father-in-law and mother-in-law. Seeing Yang Tian's unnatural expression, Qin Fei smiled and said, My parents already know about us. They won't object. Yang Tian scratched his head and laughed mischievously. The two of them left the grove and a black car drove over. When the car door opened and the driver got out, Yang Tian was very surprised to see the driver. "Young Master Yang, long time no see." Wu Fang looked at Yang Tian and said with a smile. Chapter 126. Wu Fang was Qin Lao's housekeeper. If Wu Fang was here, then Qin Lao must be here as well. Uncle Wu, then? Grandpa is here too? Yang Tian guessed that Qin Lao had arrived in Hero City, but he was still not sure. He was stunned for a moment before he scratched his head and asked. Wu Fang smiled. "Young Master Yang, you'll know when you get there." Yang Tian nodded and got into the car with Qin Fei. They sat in the back together. "Xiao Fei, do you already know that Grandpa is here?" Yang Tian asked Qin Fei after they got into the car. Qin Fei smiled mischievously. "I'm not telling you." She winked at Yang Tian after she finished speaking. Hero City was huge. The car sped on for more than 20 minutes before they entered a villa district that was similar to Tianxiong City. When the car entered the residential area, Wu Fang had to show his ID before he was allowed to pass. Yang Tian was a little nervous as he was about to meet Qin Fei's parent. He could only look at the buildings outside to ease his nerve. Qin Fei held Yang Tian's hand. Seeing that Yang Tian's palm was sweating, she knew that Yang Tian was too nervous. However, Qin Fei was very happy because Yang Tian was nervous because of her. This villa district was much bigger than the one in the center of Tianxiong City. The style of the villas was also different from the ones in Tianxiong City. The exterior of these villas was simpler and more elegant. They did not look as exquisite as the villas in the east. This was similar to the aura of the martial artists in this city. The car drove for a few minutes in this district before they entered the gate of a villa. After Yang Tian and Qin Fei got out of the car, 5 people walked out of the villa. 2 of them were Yang Tian's parents. "Dad, Mom, why are you here?" Yang Tian walked up happily and asked with a smile. Yang Tian was surprised by his parents' arrival. Wang Hong smiled and said, "We came with your grandpa Qin, so we don't have to run to both sides to discuss something." At this time, Yang Lin pulled Yang Tian aside and reminded Yang Tian, "Hurry up and greet your Uncle Qin and Aunt Shui." "Uncle, Auntie, hello." Yang Tian looked at the middle-aged couple in front of him and greeted them shyly. Qin Fei's father was called Qin Yunlong, and her mother was called Shuiyu. Both of them looked to be in their early 40s. Qin Yunlong was now a level 6 warrior, and his body was strong and powerful. Shuiyu was a level 5 warrior. Although she was in her early 40s, her figure was very good. Their skin was a little dark, and it seemed like they had been training outside for a long time. It was probably Qin Lao's request. If he persevered, he should be able to become a level 7 martial artist before the age of 50. When Yang Tian saw the appearance of Qin Yunlong and Shuiyu, he couldn't help but have a trace of doubt in his heart. This was because Qin Fei, Qin Yunlong, and Shuiyu looked different. Whether it was the shape of the face, eyes, eyebrows, nose, lips, Yang Tian couldn't find any similarities between Qin Fei and his parent. "Come in and have a seat. It's windy outside." Qin Jingyang noticed the flash of doubt in Yang Tian's eyes, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he smiled and said to everyone. After entering the living room, Yang Tian's parents and Qin Fei's parents sat down by a coffee table. Qin Fei sat beside her mother, Shuiyu, and hugged her mother's arm very intimately. Just now, when Yang Tian saw that Qin Fei didn't have a surprised expression on her face when she saw his parents, neither did his parents. Yang Tian knew that his parents had probably been here for more than a day. Just as Yang Tian was about to sit down beside his parents, Qin Lao said to Yang Tian, "Little Yang Tian, come with me. I have something to tell you." Yang Tian nodded. Qin Lao brought Yang Tian out of the living room and out of the villa. Qin Lao looked at Yang Tian and said with a smile, Actually, you already saw it just now, right? Xiao Fei is indeed not this old man's biological granddaughter. Yang Tian was surprised. He opened his eyes wide and asked, "Then, does Xiao Fei know about this?" Qin Lao shook his head. "No, but Xiao Fei already knew about it. Actually, this is nothing. Although Xiao Fei is not this old man's biological granddaughter, this old man, your Uncle Qin, and the others all treat her as our biological granddaughter and daughter." Yang Tian nodded. That was indeed the case. He could see that old Qin's family was sincere towards Qin Fei. They especially loved Qin Fei. Qin Lao said at this time, "If it was just this, I wouldn't have called you out. About Xiao Fei, there's another thing I want to tell you." Yang Tian looked at Qin Lao expectantly. Qin Lao said, "Xiao Fei's body has always been unable to be strengthened. Beast cores from level 1 to level 8 have no effect on her. Her body constitution is very special. You must have already known about this, right?" Yang Tian nodded. "Xiao Fei told me before. She was very worried." Yang Tian took out a 5-colored level 9 beast core from his inner pocket and said, "Since level 1 to level 8 beast cores don't work, you can try a level 9 beast core. Are you willing to give it up?" Qin Lao looked at the 5-colored beast core in Yang Tian's hand and asked with a smile. Yang Tian nodded. "What's there to be reluctant about? Beast cores can be obtained at any time. Xiao Fei's body is the most important." Seeing the serious look on Yang Tian's face, old Qin smiled with gratification. However, he shook his head and said, "Even a rank 9 beast nucleus would be useless. Because Xiao Fei isn't a human from Earth. The energy from the beast cores can't strengthen her body." How is this possible? Yang Tian was very surprised. Qin Fei was not Qin Lao's biological granddaughter. This was a very normal thing. Even before the YS virus outbreak, there were many orphans in this world. However, the fact that Qin Fei was not an Earthling really surprised Yang Tian. However, he thought about it again and remembered that the things brought back by the hero from Mars were not made by humans on Earth. This directly proved that there were other intelligent life forms in the universe. There was also the little blue dragon. The origin of the little blue dragon was also a mystery to Yang Tian. Qin Lao looked at Yang Tian, who was frowning in thought, and said, 18 years ago, Hero City encountered a crisis. A large number of sea beasts gathered near the coast and would soon attack Hero City. I received a request from a good friend in Hero City and came to help. After killing a few high-level sea beasts, I couldn't resist the mysterious summons and went to the bottom of the sea. On the mysterious disc array, there was a black wooden box. In the end, this old man resisted the urge to use the disc array to find the secret and brought the wooden box out of the sea. When this old man opened the wooden box, I found a baby girl sleeping soundly inside. This baby girl is Xiao Fei. This can't prove that Xiao Fei is not an Earthling, right? Yang Tian scratched his head and said after Qin Lao finished speaking. Qin Lao nodded. You're right. However, at a depth of a few thousand meters, only a level 9 martial artist can reach. How could an ordinary wooden box withstand the enormous pressure of the sea? That wooden box was obviously not made by humans. Its material is too special. Where is the wooden box? Yang Tian asked again. Qin Lao sighed. The wooden box no longer exists. Chapter 127. Grandpa, it doesn't matter if Xiao Fei is a human from Earth or not. I love her all the same. I will protect her and not let her get hurt. Yang Tian said to Qin Lao solemnly. Qin Lao said all this to Yang Tian because he wanted Yang Tian to express his stance. When he heard Yang Tian's words, he finally felt relieved and nodded. Whoosh! At this time, the unicorn flapped its wings and descended from the sky, landing next to Yang Tian. White Snow, you didn't get lost. Good job. Yang Tian said with a smile as he patted the unicorn's back. The name that Qin Fei gave to the unicorn was White Snow. The unicorn was a female beast. Its entire body was snow white without a single strand of hair. This name was just right for it. At this time, Wu Fang walked over and said to the unicorn with a smile, "Ms. White Snow, come with me. I have already prepared some food for you." Whoosh! The unicorn happily snorted and flapped its wings. She raised her head and followed behind Steward Wu to the backyard. When Yang Tian and Qin Lao returned to the living room, their parents were already discussing the date of Qin Fei and Yang Tian's wedding. Qin Fei gave Yang Tian a look and then went up to the second floor. Yang Tian immediately followed her. "Yang Tian, what did Grandpa say to you?" Qin Fei asked curiously when they reached the balcony of the living room on the second floor. Yang Tian did not want to hide anything from Qin Fei, so he told her about the conversation between him and Qin Lao. Yang Tian knew that Qin Fei would find out about this sooner or later. How could I not be a human from Earth? Look, I am the same as a human." Qin Fei said to Yang Tian as she turned around in front of Yang Tian after being stunned for a moment. "Xiaofei, that's actually not important. I only like you as a person, not because of your identity. Even if you're a monster, I'll still like you." As Yang Tian spoke, he pulled Qin Fei into his embrace. "You are the monster," Qin Fei said angrily. Looking at Qin Fei's beautiful face, Yang Tian quietly looked at Qin Fei. Their eyes met, and they got closer and closer. In the end, he couldn't help but kiss her. A few minutes later, the two of them separated. This second time, they were obviously more familiar and experienced than the first time. After some discussion, the parents of both sides set the date for September 16, 2117. It was now the end of May. There were still more than 4 months left. There was nothing special about the timing. The parents of both parties were not superstitious people. They just considered that the temperature in September would be cooler, so it was more convenient to treat them. Next, it was to discuss the location of the wedding. There was no national authority now, so the wedding could be registered in the city where it was held. There were no restrictions on nationality. The duration of Bo-Lia University was 3 years. Even if Qin Fei got married, she would still have to study for another year before graduating. Because of the wedding preparations, Yang Tian was very busy every day. First, he had to find a place to hold the wedding and write invitations to treat people. It was not easy to treat someone to a meal. Even a warrior would have to take some risks to travel from one city to another. For this kind of thing, most of the guests wouldn't come unless a special plane was arranged to pick them up. Also, many warriors were training outside. They couldn't come just because they wanted to. Yang Tian only knew a few warriors. He discussed with Qin Fei and wrote invitations to his former classmates, Su Fei, Lu Qian, Zhou Hao, and Li Yan. On the invitations, Yang Tian and Qin Fei's names were written. Next, it was the people they knew. Xiang Tian first wrote invitations to Xiao Fei, Zhou Feng, Lu Xiao, Wang Guang, Zhao Wu, Lu Jian, and Li Xian, 7 people he met in Tianwei Martial Arts Hall. Then, Yang Tian wrote an invitation to Zhao Shuangxing. Zhao Shuangxing had taught Yang Tian combat skills back then. Yang Tian hadn't forgotten. As for Mark and Nora, Qin Fei would write invitations to them. The two of them felt that they didn't know many people, but they had written a lot of invitations. Especially Qin Fei, who had a good relationship with her in high school and Bo-Lia University. There were more than 100 invitations. In addition to the people Yang Tian and Qin Fei knew, Yang Tian's parents also had neighbors in Tianxiong City. To Yang Tian and Wang Hong, Yang Tian had made a name for himself. They naturally wanted to let their neighbors know and satisfy their vanity. This was human nature. In addition to Yang Tian and the others, the Qin family had even more guests to invite. This was especially true for Qin Lao. He had been a level 9 martial artist for a long time. His old teammates, disciples, and good friends, After the whole family wrote their invitations, Steward Wu sorted them out. Including the guests' family members, there were probably more than 3,000 people, or even more. These 3,000 people were distributed in various cities around the world. Most of them had to be picked up by private planes. After sorting out the invitations, Steward Wu started to contact the private planes. In order to hold Yang Tian and Qin Fei's wedding, the Qin family had booked 3 big hotels for the guests to stay in. As for the venue of the wedding, Qin Lao had booked the largest manor in Hero City, Violet Manor. The owner of Violet Manor was the son of a level 9 martial artist friend of Qin Lao's. Qin Lao's friend had gone to the mysterious door and had been missing for more than 10 years. However, this friend's son still respected Qin Lao very much. With one sentence from Qin Lao, the other party immediately agreed and even provided free drinks for the wedding. By the time the wedding time, venue, guests, and so on were all arranged, it was already the middle of June. Next, it was time to take the wedding photos. For ordinary people, they could only take their wedding photos in the safe zone. They could not go to places with beautiful scenery and could only use fake backgrounds. After the outbreak of the YS virus, people had to admit that this was a pity. However, for Yang Tian, this was not a problem at all. For the rest of the time, Yang Tian brought Qin Fei and the team of photographers around the world by plane. Wherever the scenery was beautiful and there were many exotic beasts, the little blue dragon would transform into a huge dragon and roar in the sky. The exotic beasts below could only flee in all directions. During this process, of course, Yang Tian was not the only martial artist. Steward Wu brought 15 level 5 and 6 martial artists with him to protect him. At the beginning of September, Yang Tian and Qin Fei finally returned to Hero City with a lingering feeling. This was the busiest time in the world. The wedding preparation organization led by Steward Wu had chartered hundreds of new planes. There were planes arriving at Hero City every day to send the guests to Hero City and arrange for them to stay in luxurious hotels. On the 3rd day of Yang Tian's return to the city, 4 small jets from Sky Majestic City arrived. Yang Tian, Qin Fei, and their parents personally went to the airport. Those who came were Yang Tian and Qin Fei's classmate. There were also martial artists who were on good terms with Yang Tian, such as Xiao Fei and the others. There were also the neighbors that Yang Tian's family had a good relationship with. Yang Tian, congratulations! Congratulations! Xiao Fei and the others got off the plane and saw Yang Tian in the arrival hall. Xiao Fei immediately walked over and said with a big smile. Seeing Xiao Fei and his former teammates, Yang Tian was also very happy. He hugged Xiao Fei, Zhou Feng, and the others one by one. Yang Tian, I didn't expect you to get married so soon. You were even faster than us. Zhou Hao and his girlfriend Li Yan walked over and said with a smile. In addition to Xiao Fei and Zhou Hao, Su Fei and Lu Qian, who had not been seen for a long time, also arrived. Seeing the two of them, Yang Tian pretended to be unhappy and said, You two got married without telling us. Su Fei said helplessly, I wanted to invite you too, but you had already left Sky City and Qin Fei was in Hero City. Yang Tian said with a smile, Then I'll forgive you. However, I have already prepared your gift. This is just the right time to give them to you. Yang Tian and Qin Fei directly sent the guests to the hotel and settled them down before leaving the hotel and returning to the Qin villa. Chapter 128. September 15th, tomorrow was the grand wedding. Yang Tian was lying in bed, so excited that he couldn't sleep. Yang Tian took out the 5-colored Class 9 beast core and looked at it under the light above his head. This beast core was different from other beast cores. It was transparent and the light passed through the beast core, projecting faint 5-colored light spots on Yang Tian's face. Xiao Long, after we get married, I'll swallow this beast core. Then, we'll go to the bottom of the sea to hunt Class 10 beasts. I wonder what a Class 10 beast core looks like. Yang Tian turned his head and looked at the little blue dragon lying on the pillow and said with a smile. If it was on land, Class 10 beasts wouldn't be difficult to deal with. However, at the bottom of the sea, the water would obstruct the movements of martial artists, limiting their speed. Also, the deeper they went, the greater the pressure of the water. It was also a test for the martial artist's body. Without diving equipment, the average person could only dive about 20 meters deep. First and second rank martial artists could dive about 100 meters. Third and fourth rank martial artists could dive about 300 meters. Fifth rank martial artists could dive 500 meters. Sixth rank martial artists could dive 1,000 meters. Seventh rank martial artists could dive from 1,500 to 2,000 meters. Eighth rank martial artists' limit was about 3,000 meters, and ninth rank martial artists could dive about 5,000 meters. Using this as an estimate, Yang Tian's current depth was between 5 to 6,000 meters. The reason why Yang Tian could dive deeper was because he had the power of the Dragon Ball, which could provide him with an endless supply of energy. Ordinary martial artists could only use hidden power, which couldn't last for a long time. If they wanted to dive 10,000 meters deep, they would need to be at least Class 10 or even higher. In the sea, the stronger the exotic beast, the deeper it would hide in the sea. Gigi. As soon as Yang Tian finished speaking, the little blue dragon opened its eyes. It looked at Yang Tian and cried out weakly. Yang Tian smiled embarrassedly. The little blue dragon was sleeping soundly. At the bottom of the ocean, thousands of meters deep, the mysterious disk array spun faster and faster, and suddenly emitted a dazzling blue light. A red-haired, black-armored man wielding a bone spike weapon appeared on the disk once again. As soon as this person appeared, he immediately walked out of the formation plate. What was different from the last time was that after this person left the disc was still spinning, and another person with the same red and black armor appeared on it. A minute later, a total of 5 red-haired, black-armored men walked out of the formation plate. At this time, the disc array slowed down and the blue light gradually dimmed. The 5 red-haired, black-armored men were all dressed in the same way. Their black armor was identical, like standard armor. The only difference was that their figures were different. Some were tall, some were short, some were muscular, and some were thin and weak. After the 5 of them gathered, one of them sprang towards the surface of the sea. The seawater seemed to have no resistance to him at all. Looking at this person's figure, it should be the red-haired black-armored man who had come before. As this person charged towards the surface of the sea, the other 4 followed closely behind. The 5 black-armored men hovered above the sea for a while, making strange sounds as if they were communicating with each other. Then, they quickly flew towards Hero City. Many guests who weren't invited came to watch the wedding of a level 9 martial artist. There were even tourist groups from some cities who organized a large number of people to watch Yang Tian's wedding. Of course, these tourist groups had been discussed with Steward Wu in advance. On the 16th of September, more than 10,000 people gathered at Violet Manor. Every public area was filled with cameras and a global live broadcast was being broadcasted online. The wedding this time was much grander than what Yang Tian had imagined. In order to make this wedding even grander and more memorable, Wu Fang's wedding preparation team came up with a shocking entrance based on Yang Tian and Qin Fei's pet beast. On Violet Manor's wide turf, more than 10,000 people had gathered. As the wedding host, Wu Fang stood on the stage in the middle. After some explanation, he dragged the time until noon. Now, let's welcome the new star, Yang Tian, and the bride, Qin Fei, to the stage. As soon as Wu Fang finished speaking, the orchestra next to him began to play exciting music. Roar! Yang Tian, who had been waiting for a long time, straddled the little blue dragon's back in a white suit. The little blue dragon flew into the sky and let out a dragon's roar that reverberated through the heavens. This time, the little blue dragon wasn't as large as before. Its body was only about 10 meters long. It flew in the sky, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. On its back sat Yang Tian. On the other side, the unicorn White Snow carried Qin Fei, who was dressed like a princess in a white wedding dress and a crown, into the sky and headed towards Yang Tian. The two exotic beasts carried Yang Tian and Qin Fei, circling in the sky. The two looked at each other, conveying their feelings. Wow, so romantic! It would be great if my future wedding could be like this. So beautiful! This must be the coolest and most romantic wedding in history. Looking at the two exotic beasts in the sky, as well as Yang Tian and Qin Fei, who were sitting on them, the guests were all envious, amazed, and jealous. The guests who had brought cameras raised their heads and pressed hard against the sky. Dense clicking sounds could be heard. This kind of situation might not happen again in the future. They had to take pictures as a souvenir. The two exotic beasts carried Yang Tian and Qin Fei circled in the sky for 9 minutes before landing on the ground below. The two came down from the exotic beasts and were received by their parent. The following procedure was similar to a typical rich family's wedding. As the wedding host, Wu Fang gave a lot of blessings. Then, Yang Tian walked onto the stage, accompanied by his groomsmen and bridesmaids. Qin Fei's bridesmaids were Li Yan and Nora. The two of them were dressed up carefully and were equally beautiful, but they were slightly inferior to Qin Fei. Yang Tian's groomsmen were Zhou Hao and Mark. Next was the wedding vows. Under Wu Fang's questioning, the two of them said, "I do" many times before exchanging wedding rings. After exchanging rings, Yang Tian hugged Qin Fei and twirled her around a few times excitedly. Everything went smoothly. However, when Yang Tian was about to kiss his bride, Qin Fei, in front of the guests' expectations, all of a sudden, pu-pu-pu, 5 consecutive sounds could be heard as 5 red-haired men in black armor descended from the sky and landed below the stage. When the 5 black-armored men saw Qin Fei on the stage, they knelt on one knee and lowered their heads. The leader of the black-armored men looked up at Qin Fei and said a bunch of incomprehensible words. This sudden turn of events caused everyone's eyes to widen. They didn't know if this was another special show in the wedding. Chapter 129. Yang Tian let go of Qin Fei. Looking at the 5 black-armored men below the stage, he frowned. These 5 people gave him the feeling that they were very powerful and very dangerous. After the 5 black-armored men bowed, they all stood up. The leader of the black-armored men bowed to Qin Fei, turned sideways, and raised his hand to make an inviting gesture. "Who are you people?" Yang Tian looked at the 5 people and asked. "You are only low-level life forms. You are not qualified to ask about our matters." When Yang Tian asked this question, he did not expect that the leader of the black-armored men would speak stiff English. After the black-armored man finished speaking, he did not wait for Yang Tian to react. His figure flashed and suddenly disappeared on the spot. Bang! In the eyes of others, almost at the same time, Yang Tian punched out of thin air. And the black-armored man just happened to appear in front of Yang Tian, his fist colliding with Yang Tian's. The 2 fists collided with each other, emitting an explosive sound. The black-armored man did not move at all, but Yang Tian continuously retreated several meters before stopping. Yang Tian used his greatest strength in this punch. The moment these 5 black-armored men appeared, he sensed that something was wrong and immediately circulated the power of the dragon pearl in his body. This powerful punch was actually unable to compare with the power of this black-armored man. The black-armored man's casual punch clearly did not use his full strength. After Yang Tian stopped, the black-armored man had already flashed in front of Qin Fei and grabbed one of her hands. "Let go of me! Let go of me!" Qin Fei said as she continuously struggled. However, she did not even have the strength to truss a chicken in front of powerful cultivators, not to mention the black-armored man who was even stronger than Yang Tian. courting death. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian angrily shouted. He flashed in front of the black armored man and reached out to grab his neck. Yang Tian's speed was also very fast, making the black armored man somewhat apprehensive. He had no choice but to let go of Qin Fei and dodge to the side. Yang Tian immediately protected Qin Fei behind him. "Your Highness, please come with us. This place does not belong to you." The black armored man didn't continue to attack. He took a few steps back and knelt on one knee again as he spoke to Qin Fei in English. At this moment, the little blue dragon descended from the sky and landed on the stage. Compared to before, the little blue dragon's body was a little smaller. After it landed on the stage, it lowered its body and made a pouncing posture. "Star Beast, don't meddle in other people's business," the black armored man said unhappily when he saw the little blue dragon threatening him. The little blue dragon had never learned English, so it didn't know what the black armor man was saying. However, when it saw the black armor man's cold eyes, it knew what he meant. Roar! The little blue dragon opened its mouth and roared at the black armored man. It moved its 4 legs and slowly approached the black armored man. "Xiao Long, wait!" Yang Tian immediately went forward and patted the little blue dragon's head as he said. It was the first time Yang Tian saw the little blue dragon treat an enemy so seriously. It was obvious that this black armored man's strength could threaten the little blue dragon. Yang Tian didn't want the little blue dragon to get hurt. The little blue dragon finally stopped, but it still looked at the black armored man with vigilance. In the little blue dragon's consciousness, these people in black armor were emitting a dangerous aura. Yang Tian looked at the pair of blue eyes under the black armored man's mask and frowned. "I won't let you take little Fei away. You haven't answered me yet. Who are you? Also, what is little Fei's true identity?" Yang Tian had just heard the black armored man call Qin Fei Your Highness. At the same time, he also called the little blue dragon Star Beast. The black armored man still refused to answer Yang Tian's question. After saying that, he waved his hand toward the audience and said, "I said, you don't have the right to know." Puff, 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 puff. With 4 consecutive sounds, 4 black armored men appeared on the stage and surrounded Yang Tian, Qin Fei, and the little blue dragon. It seemed that these 5 people wanted to take Qin Fei away by force. At this time, the surrounding guests all realized that something was wrong. What kind of program was this? It was clear that these black armored men wanted to take Qin Fei away. Whoosh! At this time, there was a gust of wind, and Qin Lao appeared on the stage. Other than Qin Lao, Wu Feng, Ma Ku, Xiao Fei, and the others all took out their weapons and surrounded the stage. There were many warriors who came to attend the wedding. There were no less than 1,000 of them. Among them, there were more than 50 rank 7 warriors and 10 rank 8 warriors. These warriors surrounded the stage tightly. As for the other guests, they retreated in an orderly manner and looked at the situation on the stage from afar. "You are not humans from Earth. You must have come from another planet through that door, right?" Qin Lao looked at the leader of the black armored men and asked as he stroked his beard. *@ The leader of the black armored men did not answer Qin Lao's question. Instead, he used his own language and said a few words to his 4 companions. From his point of view, Qin Lao was the same as Yang Tian. Neither of them had the right to make him answer his question. As soon as the leader of the black armored men finished speaking, his body flashed and he disappeared from where he was. In Yang Tian's eyes, one of the black armored men waved his fist and punched towards his chest. His speed was extremely fast. Yang Tian quickly punched out and exchanged a few blows with his opponent. As for the other black armored man, he charged towards Old Man Qin and started fighting with him. As for the remaining 2 black armored men, one of them rushed towards Wu Feng, Ma Ku, and the others. Ma Ku, Wu Feng, and the other warriors were not a match for these black armored men. After a series of bangs, They were all knocked to the ground by the black armored men. There was still a difference in strength between these 4 black armored men and the leader of the black armored men. However, even so, their strength was equivalent to that of a peak rank 9 warrior. Another black armored man rushed towards the little blue dragon. The black armored man's figure and the little blue dragon's figure were entangled for a moment. The leader of the black armored men seized this opportunity and rushed in front of Qin Fei. He pressed down on Qin Fei's neck and Qin Fei fainted. Immediately after, the black armored man carried Qin Fei. With a spring of his legs, he quickly rushed into the air and flew extremely far away. From the moment the 4 black armored men attacked to the moment the leader took Qin Fei away, only a short 3 seconds had passed. Seeing Qin Fei being taken away, Yang Tian was shocked. He relaxed his mind and was punched in the chest by the black armored man in front of him. The powerful force sent him flying. Yang Tian twisted his waist in the air and landed steadily on the ground. Pu. The 4 black armored men did not tangle with Yang Tian and the others. They stomped on the ground and rushed into the air, quickly disappearing. These people could actually fly. The difference in strength was too great. Among the 5 black armored men, 4 of them had the strength equivalent to a peak rank 9 warrior. The leader had already surpassed rank 9. Yang Tian and the others were simply not a match for him. "Grandfather, quick! Bring me to that place." When Yang Tian saw the black armored men taking Qin Fei away, he knew that they were going to the mysterious door at the bottom of the black. He immediately came in front of Qin Lao and said anxiously. Qin Lao sighed and said, "We can't catch up with them now. Little Tian, you haven't received that kind of summon yet. You can't go through that disarray and enter the mysterious door. Grandfather will go first. You stay here and wait for my news." After Qin Lao finished speaking, he whistled. Screech, with a screech, the little condor flew over and landed in front of Qin Lao. Qin Lao jumped onto the condor's back. The little condor flapped its wings and flew into the air. It quickly flew towards the south and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Yang Tian looked at the direction where Qin Lao disappeared and gritted his teeth. To Yang Tian, this should be the happiest day of his life. But the sudden change of events had thrown him from heaven to hell. Facing the 5 powerful black armored men, he felt a deep sense of powerlessness. Cough, cough. Mark, who was knocked down by one of the black armored men, covered his chest and coughed a few times. He stood up with a serious expression. Some of the other warriors who were knocked down by the black armored men did not suffer any injuries. They also got up from the ground. There were also a few warriors who were severely injured and unconscious. In just a few seconds, a single black armor man had knocked down more than a dozen warriors. Chapter 130. Calm down. Calm down. Yang Tian clenched his fists as his mind was in a mess. Then, he remembered what Qin Lao said to him before he left, but his wife had been snatched away. How could he calm down? Moreover, Qin Fei was his true love. When he thought about the possibility of losing Qin Fei forever, Yang Tian was in extreme pain. "Uncle Wu, where's my sword?" Yang Tian suddenly turned his head and asked Wu Fang. A warrior's weapon would never leave their body. It was just that Yang Tian didn't bring his sword with him for this wedding. During the wedding, he handed it over to Wu Fang for safekeeping. Wu Fang had never seen Yang Tian so dignified. When he felt the sharp aura coming from Yang Tian's body, he was shocked. "Young Master Yang, I'll go get it now." Wu Fang quickly nodded after he came back to his senses. "Xiao Long. Let's go." Yang Tian turned around and said to the little blue dragon, "Roar." The little blue dragon opened its mouth and let out a roar. It slapped the ground with its claws and made a bang sound. It was obvious that the black armored men had angered the little blue dragon. Little Tian sat on the little blue dragon's back. The little blue dragon carried Yang Tian and circled in the sky. At this time, Wu Fang appeared with his sword and Yang Tian's backpack. Seeing Yang Tian in the sky, Wu Fang threw the sword and backpack into the air. The little blue dragon carried Yang Tian and rushed over. Yang Tian caught the sword and his backpack in his hands. After Yang Tian took the sword and backpack, the little blue dragon turned around and suddenly accelerated toward the west. Soon, it disappeared from everyone's sight. From the beginning of the wedding until now, everything that had happened was very strange. Many people felt that this trip was not in vain. Most of the guests felt that they were watching a good show because they were not very familiar with Yang Tian and the Qin family. However, Xiao Fei, Zhou Hao, Mark, Nora and the others were worried for Yang Tian and Qin Fei. The most worried ones were Yang Tian and Qin Fei's parents. When the 5 black armored men appeared, Yang Tian's parents were not martial artists, so they could only watch from the side, unable to help. As for Qin Fei's parents, Qin Yunlong was already injured and unconscious. Qin Fei was his daughter. Previously, he had fought the most fiercely and had received the most care from the black armored man. Qin Fei's mother, Shui Yu, had already accompanied her husband to the hospital. It was originally a joyous occasion, but because of the arrival of the 5 black-clothed men, it became a disaster. At this time, the 5 black-armored men had left with Qin Fei for less than 5 minutes. Qin Lao had also left for less than 3 minutes. With the little blue dragon's speed, it should be able to catch up. The little blue dragon moved forward at its fastest speed, even surpassing the speed of sound. However, the strange thing was that Yang Tian, who was sitting on the little blue dragon, did not feel the violent airflow. He only heard a series of dense puff sounds. Many times, things did not go as planned. After the little blue dragon flew for half an hour, it only saw a giant red eagle hovering over the sea. The little blue dragon immediately slowed down and approached it. The little blue dragon stopped near the little eagle, and Yang Tian asked loudly, "Little eagle, where is your master?" Screech, the little condor, understood human nature. It let out a loud chirp and immediately flew southwest to lead the way. The little blue dragon immediately followed behind the little eagle. At this time, Yang Tian took out a flashlight from his backpack. He also wore the newly bought, the latest martial artist auxiliary device on his wrist. Wu Fang actually brought Yang Tian's backpack over. However, Yang Tian understood after thinking about it. Wu Fang knew that this backpack contained the most important things that he carried with him. Naturally, it was placed together with his weapons. For martial artists, it had become common sense and habit to keep their weapons and equipment with them. The little eagle was now a level 7 exotic beast. Its flying speed was also very fast, almost reaching the speed of sound. After a few minutes, they arrived at the place. The little eagle hovered at a low altitude over the sea. The little blue dragon and Yang Tian both understood that this was the place where Qin Lao went into the sea. Pung, dragons could survive in the water. The little blue dragon took Yang Tian and plunged into the sea. After entering the water, the little blue dragon's speed slowed down a little because the resistance of water was much greater than that of air. Empty, empty, empty. Suddenly, there was a noise from below the water, and a string of white bubbles floated up. The little blue dragon immediately dived down along the bubbles. The deeper they went into the sea, the darker the light became. Yang Tian turned on the flashlight. 200 meters, 300 meters, 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters. Yang Tian looked at the martial artist auxiliary device on his wrist, which showed the depth of the water and the water pressure. The water pressure was very obvious. The deeper they dived, the greater the water pressure. Yang Tian mobilized the power of the Dragon Ball in his body to densely cover his whole body, resisting the increasingly powerful water pressure. At the same time, Yang Tian could not breathe. He could not move violently underwater for a long time. But when they reached a depth of 2,000 meters, Suddenly, the flashlight in Yang Tian's hand was squashed by the water pressure and extinguished. This kind of alloy casing flashlight was not a deep-sea equipment. It lasted until now before it was destroyed. The quality was very good. Fortunately, there was no problem with the martial artist auxiliary device. Yang Tian immediately turned on the light above. It was the first time he had dived into such deep water. Yang Tian felt as if he had fallen into superglue. Every movement required a lot of strength. However, the little blue dragon did not seem to be affected by the water pressure. Its diving speed did not change at all. In less than a minute, the little blue dragon took Yang Tian to the bottom of the sea. They were only 100 meters away from the seabed. At this time, a blue light appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. The little blue dragon adjusted its direction and swam toward the blue light. It was already 3,000 meters deep. Although a level 8 martial artist could dive to this depth, it was impossible to fight in this environment. Empty, at this time, a muffled sound came from the direction of the blue light. A string of bubbles appeared under the illumination of the blue light. Whoosh whoosh, at this time, the dense sound of shuttling also entered Yang Tian's ears. The little blue dragon increased its swimming speed and quickly arrived at the location of the blue light. What appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes was the scene of Qin Lao and a black armored man fighting at the bottom of the sea. The speed of the two was still very fast. It was equivalent to the speed of a level 8 martial artist fighting on land. The whoosh whoosh sound was the sound of the two moving quickly. A black armored man was entangled with Qin Lao. The other 4 black armored men were carrying a translucent cabin shaped like a cannonball. They were standing in the middle of a disc emitting blue light. In this translucent cabin, Qin Fei, who was wearing a white wedding dress, was motionless with her eyes closed. She was like a sleeping beauty. They want to take little Fei away. Yang Tian was shocked. He immediately jumped down from the little blue dragon's back. His feet stepped on a rock at the bottom of the sea and rushed toward the translucent cabin. Chapter 131. As soon as he moved, Yang Tian felt the strong resistance from the seawater. His speed was much slower than he had expected. Even so, Yang Tian's speed was still very fast. He had basically reached the speed of a rank 8 warrior when he was on land. Seeing Yang Tian rushing over, one of the 4 black armored men guarding the translucent cabin immediately rushed toward Yang Tian while the other rushed toward the little blue dragon. Kong Kong. At this moment, Qin Lao, who was fighting with another black armored man, held a short knife and clashed with the bone spear in the black armored man's hand twice. Then, the two quickly separated. No one knew how long Qin Lao had been fighting at the bottom of the sea. After separating this time, perhaps because he had held his breath for too long and his body was lacking in oxygen, he didn't stop at all. He used all his strength and rushed toward the surface of the sea. The black armored man who was fighting with Qin Lao didn't chase after him. Instead, he turned around and rushed toward Yang Tian. Under the dim light, Yang Tian glanced at Qin Lao. Seeing that Qin Lao was fine, he was relieved. In the blink of an eye, the black armored man was already in front of Yang Tian. Shoo! The black armored man raised the bone spear in his hand and swept it toward Yang Tian. As the bone spear cut through the seawater, it brought with it a sharp whistle. This bone spear was like an animal's tailbone. It was curved and covered with rows of saw-like spikes. The tip of the spike was very sharp. Whoosh! Facing this attack, Yang Tian stepped on a reef at the bottom of the sea and dodged. At this time, another black armored man arrived. The bone spear in his hand was aimed at Yang Tian's chest. Yang Tian dodged again. At the bottom of the sea, the black armored men's speed was also affected. They weren't as fast as they were on land. However, their black armor seemed to be able to provide them with oxygen. Or perhaps they didn't need to breathe oxygen in the first place. If that was the case, they would be able to fight for a long time. I have to end this battle as soon as possible. Yang Tian gritted his teeth and thought to himself. Whoosh! Yang Tian moved and rushed towards one of the black-armored men. When the saber in his hand trembled, it made a similar sound. Empty! Yang Tian's saber collided with the bone spear in his opponent's hand, producing a dull sound. The powerful collision caused the two of them to fly backwards. Roar! The little blue dragon at the side let out an angry roar and swept its tail at the black-armored man who attacked it. The black-armored man quickly retreated, and the dragon's tail slammed into a reef, making a loud boom. The little blue dragon moved very quickly in the water, as if it was not affected at all. The black-armored man who attacked it was at a disadvantage. Yang Tian was no longer worried about the little blue dragon. He focused on facing the attacks of the two black-armored men. At this time, he was a little regretful. He thought to himself that he should have swallowed the rank 9 beast nucleus. That way, when he used the power of the Dragon Pearl, his realm would have surpassed the rank 9 warrior realm. Perhaps Qin Fei would not have been easily brought here by these black-armored men. Empty, empty, empty. Yang Tian kept on attacking, wanting to get closer to the translucent cabin. But every time, there would be a black-armored man in front of him. They did not let him get closer. The saber in Yang Tian's hand kept on colliding with the bone spears in the hands of the two black-armored men. It was very difficult for him to move forward. After a few minutes, there was a whoosh sound, and a figure fell from above. It turned out that it was Qin Lao who had come back. They could not talk in the water. As soon as Qin Lao arrived, he glanced at Yang Tian and quickly rushed towards the translucent cabin. The two black-armored men who were blocking Yang Tian could only send one of them to stop Qin Lao. The blue light on the formation plate became brighter and brighter, and it was spinning faster and faster. It was about to start the teleportation. Yang Tian was shocked. He rushed towards the formation plate without caring about anything else. He knew that if he did not take Qin Fei back, she would be taken away by the two black-armored men. Seeing that they were about to succeed, the black-armored men clearly did not want to let Yang Tian and the others ruin their plan. One of the two black-armored men left the formation plate and rushed to stop Yang Tian. Shush! At this time, the little blue dragon quickly swam over. With a sweep of its tail, it forced one of the black-armored men to retreat. Yang Tian took advantage of this opportunity. He stomped hard on a piece of rock and quickly rushed towards the formation plate. Pft! With a muffled sound, one of the black-armored men rushed over and swept his bone spear towards Yang Tian's shoulder. Yang Tian did not have time to dodge. He leaned slightly to the side, and the sharp bone spear left a deep wound on his shoulder. Blood immediately flowed out and dyed the seawater red. Yang Tian did not care about the wound on his shoulder. After paying the price, he finally arrived at the formation plate. But before he could stand firm, a blue light shone in front of him. The strong light forced him to close his eyes. His body was also out of control and became numb. At this critical moment, the formation plate finally started the teleportation. The teleportation did not take long. When the blue light disappeared and his body was no longer numb, Yang Tian found himself in a long tunnel. This tunnel was very simple. It was as if it was casually carved out with a chisel. The top was embedded with large and small crystals that emitted blue light. The blue light emitted by these crystals illuminated the entire tunnel. Under Yang Tian's feet, there was also a formation plate that was about 5 meters in diameter. This was the first time that Yang Tian had experienced this kind of teleportation. After glancing at the situation in front of him, he immediately picked up his sword and quickly chased after them. There was no seawater in this tunnel, so Yang Tian's speed was very fast. After a few minutes, he saw a white light in front of him. At this time, Yang Tian was even more anxious. This was because after he was teleported here, He did not see the black-armored man at all, nor did he see the translucent warhead cabin where Qin Fei was locked up. As Yang Tian moved forward, the light in front of him became brighter and brighter, and the range became bigger and bigger. Bang! Just when he was a few meters away from the entrance of the tunnel and was about to get out, Yang Tian hit an invisible energy wall with a muffled sound. Yang Tian did not expect this at all. He was not prepared at all. His body paused and was bounced back. While in the air, Yang Tian twisted his waist and flipped in the air before landing steadily on the ground. After shaking his head, which had become a little dizzy due to the strong impact, Yang Tian looked outside the tunnel. At this time, the light dimmed and a black-armored man appeared outside the tunnel. This black-armored man was the leader of the other 4 people. After he appeared, he looked at Yang Tian in the tunnel and said indifferently, "Go back. Weak human, you don't have the right to be with our highness." "Who exactly are you?" Yang Tian tightened his grip on the saber hilt and asked with a frown. The black-armored man also ignored Yang Tian's question and turned to leave the tunnel. As soon as the black-armored man left, bright light shone into the tunnel again. Yang Tian became anxious and rushed forward again. Bang! This time, Yang Tian was bounced back by the invisible energy wall. With this kind of invisible energy wall, the distance of 4 to 5 meters was like a natural moat to Yang Tian. After being bounced back again and landing on the ground, Yang Tian frowned and slowly walked out of the tunnel. In the process of moving forward, Yang Tian felt an invisible energy blocking him. This energy was like an extremely elastic membrane. As he moved forward, the energy blocking him became stronger. There are 2 more chapters before 12 p.m. From tomorrow onwards, the update time will be at 6 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 7 p.m. If there is an update, it will be at 7 p.m. In order to adjust to this time, I will have to work through the night. This way, you won't have to wait until very late to see it. Thank you readers for your support. Chapter 132. Sorry, I'm a little late. Poof, Chi. When Yang Tian was about 2 meters away from the entrance of the tunnel, the powerful force finally forced him to stop. Then, with a soft sound, he was bounced back again. His feet slid on the ground, leaving 2 shallow marks. The stone that made up the tunnel was very hard, comparable to granite. No, I can't go on like this. Yang Tian gritted his teeth and looked at the empty exit. Purring! Yang Tian stomped his feet and rushed forward again. The power of the Dragon Ball in his body also spread throughout his body. But this time, he was still bounced back. Yang Tian was a stubborn person. In addition, he was very anxious and worried about Qin Fei's safety. After being bounced back, he ignored the injury on his shoulder and rushed forward again. Pring pring pring. In the tunnel, there was a constant dull sound. Every time he was bounced back, Yang Tian gritted his teeth and rushed forward again. He didn't believe that he couldn't break through this transparent energy wall. With each collision, Yang Tian found that the distance between him and the entrance of the tunnel was getting closer and closer. Moreover, the force blocking him seemed to have weakened a little, although it wasn't very obvious. Yang Tian, who was aware of this change, became more confident. In the tunnel, within the range of Yang Tian's activities, the ground and the walls of the tunnel were all splashed with drops of blood. This was all from the wound on his shoulder during the process of impact. Fortunately, his physique was abnormally good. Although he was moving at a high intensity, the wound was slowly healing, and the blood flowing out was getting less and less. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, time flew by quickly. At the 46th minute, Yang Tian's tenacity finally had a result. The transparent energy wall blocking him, under his rapid impact, made a sound like a bubble bursting. Then, Yang Tian felt his body lighten. The energy blocking him suddenly disappeared, and his body rushed out of the tunnel. What appeared in Yang Tian's eyes was a strange cave space. This space was circular in shape, with a diameter of 100 meters. The ground was covered with hard, irregular, and very smooth dark red slabs. The dome was inlaid with countless huge crystals that emitted white light. It was precisely because of the light emitted by these crystals that illuminated this space, making it appear very bright. Under the illumination of the light from above, the dark red stone slabs on the ground reflected a faint red light like mist. These lights were very strange. The higher one went, the fainter the color. Being inside them was like being in a red mist. Yang Tian wasn't in the mood to appreciate the wonders of this space. He scanned the entire space and didn't find anyone. However, a cave on the opposite side caught his attention. Yang Tian immediately ran forward. The cave was 10 meters high and 5 meters wide. The top of the cave was in the shape of an arc, just like a huge arched door. There were many strange runes engraved around the hole. This hole didn't have a door, only waves of transparent light, like ripples on the surface of the water. Inside was a vast expanse of white, looking like a deathly still background. Yang Tian knew that the black armored man must have taken Qin Fei away from here. Yang Tian knitted his brows and walked inside. This time there was also a special kind of energy blocking him. Different from before, this energy wall was also aggressive. As soon as Yang Tian's body came in contact with it, it bounced back. In that instant, Yang Tian felt as if he was electrocuted. His whole body went numb. Yang Tian was sent flying more than 10 meters away. Because his whole body was numb, he couldn't use any strength. The saber in his hand flew to the side. When he got up from the ground, his whole body was sore. The power of the Dragon Balls that filled his body just now had disappeared by a lot. Yang Tian was very surprised. He once again used some of the Dragon Ball's power from the Dragon Balls in his body to recover his strength. However, his whole body was still somewhat uncomfortable. Hoo! 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 At this moment, 3 wind sounds came from behind Yang Tian. Yang Tian quickly turned around and saw 3 black armored men rushing over. These 3 people didn't want to attack Yang Tian. Their route was straight toward the hole that Yang Tian had just touched. Yang Tian moved, wanting to stop these 3 people from leaving. However, when he used his strength, his whole body went numb, and his speed naturally slowed down. The 3 black armored men swept past him. Puff, puff, puff. With 3 light sounds, the 3 black armored men rushed into the hole, their figures disappearing into the vast expanse of white background. These 3 people were actually able to pass through this hole so easily. Yang Tian knitted his brows. After thinking for a while, he wanted to try again and slowly walked toward the hole. Stop! When Yang Tian was less than a meter away from the hole, a shout came from behind him. Qin Lao had arrived. Yang Tian stopped and turned around. Qin Lao's whole body was also wet. His beard was stuck together as he panted slightly. Quickly walking in front of Yang Tian, Qin Lao glanced at the vast expanse of white hole, then looked at Yang Tian and said indifferently, "This is that door. You're not a true 9th level warrior yet. Without being summoned, you can't pass through this door. If you try again, your body won't be able to take it. You don't know this, but there was once an 8th level warrior who wanted to pass through here. His body was shattered by the energy of the hole." Yang Tian was very surprised. With a worried face, he said, "Then what should I do?" Little Fei was brought in by them. "I don't know what will happen." Qin Lao stared at Yang Tian, who had lost his cool. He was somewhat helpless. He patted Yang Tian's shoulder and said, "This old man has nothing to worry about in this world. It's time to enter this door. Little Tian, you have to stay. Because a guy ran away. You can get some information from him that we all want to know. Wait until you feel that you have full confidence, then come here again." Grandpa Yang Tian looked at Qin Lao. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Qin Lao smiled. "Don't worry. As long as this old man doesn't die, I will definitely find little Fei. Yang Tian could only nod. Phew, Qin Lao turned his head and looked at the vast expanse of white hole. He let out a long breath and walked over without hesitation. Poof, with a soft sound, Qin Lao's figure also disappeared into the vast expanse of white light. Looking at this hole, Yang Tian felt very helpless. This was because he had already tried. With his current ability, there was no way he could enter this hole. Thinking of his impulse just now, he couldn't help but shake his head. 9th level, Yang Tian murmured. It wasn't easy to get to this huge space. Yang Tian charged around for almost an hour before he successfully broke in. But when he got out, it was very smooth. He didn't encounter any obstacles. After Yang Tian returned to the tunnel, he curiously turned around. He wanted to enter that huge space again. As he expected, he was blocked again. And after a while, this elastic energy wall seemed to have enough energy again. Chapter 133. Through the disc array, Yang Tian returned to the sea. The little blue dragon was swimming nearby. When it saw Yang Tian come out, it swam over happily. Yang Tian was in low spirit. He took his backpack from the little blue dragon's mouth and patted the little blue dragon's head gently. Then, he kicked hard on the bottom of the sea and rushed to the surface. After rushing out of the sea, Yang Tian took a few deep breaths of air. At this time, Yang Tian's heart was empty. He planned to immediately return to Hero City to visit his parents and Qin Fei's parent. However, he remembered that there was still a black armored man in this world. If he left like this, that guy would definitely take the opportunity to leave. This black armored man was the person Yang Tian obtained important information from. How could Yang Tian let him leave? Yang Tian thought for a moment and dived into the sea again. He came in front of the disc array. He did not know what material this disc array was made of. It was not made of metal or stone. The surface was emitting a faint blue light. There were a few concentric circles on the surface that were slowly rotating. This thing looked like a high-tech thing. He did not know what kind of energy was used to drive it. It had been a long time, but it was still working. Looking at the big thing in front of him that was about 5 meters in diameter, Yang Tian used his knife to dig at its edge. After digging about a meter deep, he finally found the bottom of the disc array. The side of the disc array was also engraved with strange runes. It was a cylindrical object. Yang Tian put down his knife and crouched down. He grabbed the surface and bottom of the disc array with both hands and pulled hard. Under Yang Tian's strong pull, the disc array began to shake. It rubbed against the rocks at the bottom of the sea and made a series of noises. It was very heavy, probably more than 10,000 kilograms. It was so heavy and so deep at the bottom of the sea. Yang Tian could only make it move slowly. He could only rely on the little blue dragon to move it out of the sea. After Yang Tian knew the approximate weight, he turned his head, looked at the little blue dragon, and pointed at the disc array in front of him. The little blue dragon understood and swam far away to transform again. With the little blue dragon here, there wasn't a single marine beast nearby. Yang Tian did not know what level little azure dragon was at if he were to determine its level. After a while, the little blue dragon transformed into a giant dragon with a diameter of 5 meters. It opened its mouth and held the disc formation in its mouth. At this time, the formation plate emitted a faint blue light. In the little blue dragon's mouth, it looked like the little blue dragon was holding a dragon pearl. As long as he could take the disc array away from here and place it in a safe place, Yang Tian wouldn't have to worry about the black armored men using the disc array to enter and exit. When the little blue dragon was holding the disc array, Yang Tian also jumped onto the little blue dragon's back. They swam straight upstream. Soon, the little blue dragon rushed out of the sea with Yang Tian. Xiao Long, go to the South Pole. Yang Tian immediately said to the little blue dragon after they came out of the sea. The little blue dragon turned around and headed south. This was a last-minute decision by Yang Tian. He felt that it might be a good idea to freeze the disc array under a thick layer of ice. The little blue dragon was very fast, but the heavy object in its mouth also affected its speed. After about 15 hours, it arrived at the edge of the South Pole. Under Yang Tian's signal, Little Blue flew in circles in this area, and Yang Tian looked for a satisfactory place. "Let's go there." Not long after, Yang Tian pointed to an ice valley below and said. The little blue dragon dove down and rushed into the ice valley. This long ice valley was actually formed by the splitting of a large iceberg. It wasn't long, but it was very wide and very deep. Roar! Before the little blue dragon landed at the bottom of the valley, suddenly, a giant white bear rushed out and roared at the little blue dragon. When this giant bear stood up, it was more than 10 meters tall. Its whole body was covered with snow-white scales. It was even bigger than the 2 level 7 giant bears that Yang Tian and Mark had killed together. This was obviously a polar bear. It should be in the North Pole. Why did it come to the South Pole? Yang Tian was a little confused. Judging from the aura the bear was emitting, it was obviously a level 8 exotic beast. However, in front of the little blue dragon, this giant bear was like a small dot. The little blue dragon flew over its head and slapped down with its tail. Boom! This giant bear was directly slapped into the ice by the little blue dragon, causing the 2 icebergs next to it to tremble. The little blue dragon landed at the bottom of the valley and put down the formation plate that it was holding in its mouth. The formation plate was heavy. After it was put down by the little blue dragon, it immediately and slowly sank into the ice. The ice that was pressed down by it began to crack. Looking at the surrounding environment, Yang Tian nodded with satisfaction. This place was very hidden. If the black armor man couldn't track the formation plate, it would take a long time to find it. Yang Tian wasn't worried about the black armor man that was left behind. Instead, he was worried that more black armor men would come to Earth through the formation plate. Even if the warriors on Earth worked together, they wouldn't be a match for the large number of black armor men. Looking at the formation plate that was still emitting blue light and slowly rotating on its surface, Yang Tian turned around and walked toward the giant bear that was slapped into the ice by the little blue dragon. It wasn't too far away, and he soon reached the edge of an ice pit. The giant white bear below was still alive and was screaming hoarsely. Yang Tian held his sword and jumped down, aiming the sword in his hand at the giant bear's head. Pfft! Yang Tian's sword easily pierced through the giant bear's skull and ended its pain. After breaking open the giant bear's skull, Yang Tian obtained a purple level 8 beast core. After fighting in the deep sea for a while and using all his strength to break into that space, Yang Tian was already hungry. But there was no firewood here. Yang Tian cut open the giant bear's fur, cut a few pieces of raw meat and ate just like that. Yang Tian was already used to eating raw beast meat. The little blue dragon transformed into a 1-foot-long form again and accompanied Yang Tian to eat raw meat. After eating, Yang Tian came in front of the formation plate and stared at it with rapt attention. He curiously touched the strange runes on it with his hand. These runes should be the language of an alien race. Unfortunately, Yang Tian didn't recognize any of them. Otherwise, Yang Tian felt that he might be able to find useful information from these runes. Yang Tian thought about what changes would happen to the whole world after the appearance of these black armor men. Qin Fei woke up and found herself lying in a very large room. The main color of this room was blue. The light blue floor was smooth, the sapphire blue curtains, and the blue flowers on the wall. This room was very spacious, and there was only a very large bed in the middle. She was lying on the bed at the moment. Yang Tian. After waking up and being in a daze for a short while, Qin Fei couldn't help but cry out and sit up. Chapter 134. Qin Fei called out Yang Tian's name, but Yang Tian did not appear. She was smart and immediately realized that she had come to an unfamiliar place. Moreover, this place was most likely not on Earth. There were not many people who doubted the existence of an alien civilization. The furnishings and decorations in this room were all things that Qin Fei had never seen before. She studied at Bolia University and learned a lot about the development of human civilization. She had a certain understanding of the living habits, arts, and languages of various races. Yen %% yen #% Qin Fei's voice was heard outside the room. Two young women in blue tights came in and bowed to Qin Fei. One of the women said a few words to Qin Fei. Qin Fei did not understand a single word. Qin Fei looked at the two women and then looked at herself. She was still wearing her wedding dress and finally felt relieved. Not being able to speak the language was a troublesome matter. However, seeing how respectful these two young women were to her, Qin Fei was sure that she would not be hurt for the time being. At this moment, Qin Fei recalled that the person in black armor called her Your Highness. To the humans on Earth, this was a form of respect for people with royal status. That person in black armor knew the human language. He must have stayed on Earth for a long time and naturally understood what Your Highness meant. Qin Fei was still thinking when the two young women looked at each other and bowed to Qin Fei again before leaving. After a while, a middle-aged woman walked in surrounded by a few young women. This middle-aged woman had fair skin and was very beautiful. Qin Fei's face was 70 to 80% similar to her. If this middle-aged woman was 10 years younger, she would probably look exactly the same as Qin Fei. This middle-aged woman wore a lot of accessories on her head. When she walked, a ding-ding sound could be heard. It was very pleasing to the ears. She was wearing a fiery red dress with a milky white belt around her waist. Hanging from the belt was a machete that seemed to be used for decoration. Yen #@yen, the middle-aged woman came in front of Qin Fei and looked at her with a gentle gaze. She also said a long string of words that Qin Fei did not understand. Qin Fei stared blankly at this middle-aged woman. She felt a sense of closeness towards this middle-aged woman. Seeing that the middle-aged woman looked similar to her, she couldn't help but wonder if the middle-aged woman was related to her by blood, or a very close one at that. After the middle-aged woman finished speaking, Qin Fei could only shake her head blankly. Shaking his head meant that he didn't understand, rejected, or disappointed. Coupled with the expression on his face, there was no need for words to express his meaning. When the middle-aged woman saw Qin Fei shaking her head, she knew that Qin Fei did not understand her words. She turned her head and said a few words aloud. Immediately, a middle-aged man in a black robe walked in. This young man had an ordinary appearance and long hair. What was worth noting was that he wore a silver-white metal finger glove on his right index finger. The middle-aged man came in and bowed to the middle-aged woman. He looked very respectful. %% yen #yen #at. The middle-aged woman uttered another long string of words. While the middle-aged woman was talking, the middle-aged man turned his head to look at Qin Fei from time to time. When the middle-aged woman finished speaking, the middle-aged man nodded. Then, he turned around and walked toward Qin Fei. Qin Fei didn't know why this person was approaching her, so she retreated in fear. Seeing Qin Fei's fearful look, the middle-aged man immediately stopped and smiled at Qin Fei in a friendly manner. Then, he pointed at his lips, then at Qin Fei, and then at his ears. Qin Fei immediately understood what the middle-aged man meant. He wanted to help her so that she could understand their language. After hesitating for a moment, Qin Fei nodded. The middle-aged man smiled. Qin Fei moved to the side of the bed. The middle-aged man bowed to Qin Fei and then raised his right hand. He used the silver-white finger glove to press on Qin Fei's forehead. When the finger glove touched the skin on Qin Fei's forehead, it actually lit up and emitted a faint red light. At this moment, Qin Fei couldn't help but close her eyes. Soon, Qin Fei felt a huge amount of information surging into her mind. This process was very short and lasted less than a minute. When the middle-aged man retracted his finger, Qin Fei felt a sharp pain in her head and fell asleep. At this moment, the middle-aged man turned around and said a few words to the middle-aged woman with a smile. After bowing, he left the room. The middle-aged woman looked at Qin Fei, who had collapsed on the bed. She personally straightened Qin Fei's body, and even covered her with clothes. It was the polar night in the South Pole. The central area of the continent was dark, and the peripheral area was dimmer. After squatting in front of the disc array for a while, he took out the 5-colored level 9 beast core from his pocket. If I wasn't worried about the lack of energy back then, I would have become a level 10 martial artist long ago. Xiao Fei wouldn't have been captured by them. Yang Tian muttered to himself and directly put the level 9 beast core into his mouth. Yang Tian was very familiar with the process of swallowing beast cores and increasing his cultivation level. After swallowing the level 9 beast core, Yang Tian sat on the ice and leaned against the ice behind him. Then, he closed his eyes. At that moment, Yang Tian was holding a saber in his hand. Furthermore, he was holding it tightly. Yang Tian felt that ever since he came to Hero City, his requirements for himself had become much more lax. Previously, although he had the little blue dragon by his side, he had always maintained a tense state and was ready to fight at any time. The journey of a martial artist was also like sailing against the current. If you didn't advance, you would fall behind. Yang Tian once again tensed up and prepared for the upcoming battle. After a few minutes, powerful energy rose from Yang Tian's stomach and began to spread throughout his body. Yang Tian controlled the Dragon Ball again and began to absorb the energy of the level 9 beast core. A steady stream of energy entered the Dragon Ball. In Yang Tian's inner vision, the compressed point that was already emitting purple light began to emit a 5-colored radiance. The little blue dragon lay at the side and stared at Yang Tian. From time to time, it would look around and the disc array at the side. The absorption process this time wasn't as long as Yang Tian had expected. After about 2 days, Yang Tian completed the process of leveling up. At this moment, Yang Tian clearly felt that his body had changed. In addition to feeling that his strength had increased and his 5 senses had improved, he also felt that his body had a very strong toughness. That's right. It was toughness. This was a feeling that Yang Tian had never felt before. For an object to withstand a powerful force, not only did it have to have hardness, it also had to have toughness. For example, if the material of a saber or sword reached a certain level of hardness, it could cut through things that were slightly weaker than it. However, if its toughness wasn't enough, it would shatter upon impact. It was the same for the human body. Squeak, squeak, squeak. When Yang Tian completed his advancement, the little blue dragon cried out and told Yang Tian a set of cultivation techniques in dragon language. It could also be said that it was a body tempering technique. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.